a fundamental part of it in that.
Well, yeah, we're basically
we have
microcosms of the macrocosm.
well we have the ability to be creative, and
Well, our ability to be creative is not from us. It comes from somewhere else. Like, how the fuck does Beethoven wake up in the middle of the night and write down an entire symphony?
yeah, sure.
That came from
Yeah.
somewhere else.
But you know, any idea that is sort of habitual is is kind of an unconscious kind of thing. If you just do it all the time, you don't have to think about it.
Right.
We're streaming, fellas.
Oh, you went live.
Yeah, I just went live. I think our sounds are good.
Yeah.
I'll find out when people get in chat.
Hmm.
You guys are talking about good stuff, man. I don't want to miss it.
Yeah. It's I think we've got off to a good basis, me and Rick, because yeah. Where was I about conscious? Right. Unconsciousness. Habitual stuff's unconsciousness. I think those are things that are based upon repetition. When people have creative thoughts in art or engineering, or crack a problem that hasn't, well, to their knowledge, been solved before. It's it's kind of reduces the entropy, the chaos in the world, and I don't know, and that adds the ability to do work which is kind of life giving, I think.
Well, you said the key phrase there, that they don't think that it's ever been thought of before.
Yeah,
but it has. It's been thought of a long time ago, and it's been in the Akashic record or the Christ consciousness or whatever you choose to call it, that we're connected to, that we're a part of, that we think we're separate from, that we enjoy this consciousness all on our own, but we're just part of the consciousness, the total consciousness that's everywhere in everything. It's in the trees, it's in animals, it's in the stone, it's in the sun, it's in the planets, it's everywhere. It flows through everything.
Yeah, I'm panpsychist, animist. I really am. And that's why I think things like the sun are conscious. I think it's just the best explanation. But I think we do have our own role to play in that. So that, let's call it that morphic field that we're in. Each individual has an important creative sort of role to play in that.
Well, you see, I think our role in this universe is to just add to the knowledge of the universe, to find out things, to experience things, and upload all of that into the conscious record.
Yeah, I think I go with that as well. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
And some people experience this reality that we live in a terrible way, like getting eaten by tigers and stuff like that, or being killed in wars, or having major depression and having a shitty life. But all of that still adds to the knowledge in the Akashic record and is key to understanding the universe, I think.
Yeah, but then I think the system isn't as kind of cut and dried, straightforward. I think our environmental conditions can change. I'm not just talking about a couple of degrees, centigrade in temperature, but the very electromagnetic conditions that we're living in. I think life forms respond to those electromagnetic conditions, very highly tuned into them.
Hey, since you say you juggled something in my mind, I want to bring out. I was talking to Ted
Yeah.
earlier today, and he said something about that. That new virus that's from China. What's it called?
Oh,
Corona.
coronavirus, yeah.
He was
COVID-19, yeah.
he was saying something about 5G having something to do with it. You guys know what that's about?
Well,
Yeah, I've got a clue.
some people think that the 5G is energizing the virus and making it stronger and more resilient, and or even helping the virus propagate um, in ways that we don't understand. Some people are theorizing that the 5G is removing the oxygen from the area of these antenna, um, making there's a lot of speculation about 5G. I'm not
Yeah.
convinced that it's 100% harmful to us.
I'm
Well,
pretty sure it's pretty harmful.
you see, I have 5G, and it scares the shit out of me, man. What do I do?
Yeah.
Go back to dial-up?
Uh, well, I guess it's already in the airwaves, but I mean,
Well, I'm about to get
consider
out of here, so because
yeah,
I'm trying to
consider
get
living
into
in a
this.
Faraday cage.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, my bed practically is one.
yeah, and it's and when they start kicking a lot of power through those, they can focus that energy as well. And it's just completely untrusted, untried technology as well. It's really intrusive stuff. It's battlefield technology, the wavelengths they're using.
Hey,
Uh,
I want to bring up another subject too, and ask you what you guys think about this. At the end of the last show, I said, "Do we really need a moon to keep us from rolling around?" Now it seems like it would be true because the Earth is on an axis. But if it's not, tell me.
well, we've got that barycenter, haven't we? Which is, the gravitational center between the Earth and the Moon, which is only about 100 miles off the Earth's surface.
So you think we
Uh,
need the moon?
well, things would certainly be different without it. I would
Well,
say, I would say so. I would say it added a form of stability. I would have thought.
well, I don't think it adds stability. I think it adds a little bit of turbulence to the rotation or movement of the Earth.
Right?
We did have or we didn't have a moon in the past, and the Earth was fine. It was, I mean, other than the planets throwing their weight around and thunderbolts of the gods being exchanged between worlds. But
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't have a moon in the past. I think it was captured around 2300 BC, and everything was okay then. I mean, we didn't go flying off into the outer solar system or anything like that.
yeah.
I think it has to do with our charge, to as to where we are inside the solar system. If our charge potential changes, then yeah, we would move either inward or outward depending on how our charge changed.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose that'd apply to the moon as well. But it seems it's a fairly inert kind of object, and
Well, it's caught as we are caught inside the sun's magnetic field. It's caught within inside of our magnetic field, same way that the 70, 80 plus satellites of Jupiter and Saturn are caught within its magnetic field. It's it's basically the structure of how these bubbles form on all scales and order matter within inside them.
Yeah.
These tori fields, these magnetic Taurus fields that, you know, some people call them bubbles. I call them Taurus fields because that's basically what they are.
Well, if the moon has that much to do with it, then, I mean, we owe our existence to the moon then, don't we?
No, I don't think so, Greg. We were around long before the moon was here.
Yeah. And
Earth
you know,
would go around. We wouldn't have any stable climate on the planet.
What do you mean the Earth would roll around?
Yeah, we'd be in Antarctica, you know, for 1 week or something. Then go up to
No, I don't think so. I think we'd still be spinning on our 23-degree axis without the moon's help, or without the moon's.
You know, what about the menstrual cycle? And you know, that's about 28 days, isn't it? Same as you know, they reckon it's pretty well linked to a moon, I would have thought.
Right. Well, there may be some other force that that women synced up with in the past, before the moon was in our influence. Because again, I mean, before 2300 BC, there was people. The Greeks tell of the people that they called Arcadian.
Can you hear me
that
now?
Were people that did not know the moon. That implies that there wasn't a moon in the sky at that time.
Yeah.
And you know, females had to have cycles. And perhaps it's just what's the word I'm looking for?
Can you hear me?
Oh, Jesus. Perhaps it's just, you know, coincidence that the moon cycle is the same as a female cycle.
It is, but I mean, most people can sort of palpably feel the energy from, you know, when you get that full moon up.
How about now?
You know, the blokes are jumping around, going bananas, and the women are shouting, and everyone's shouting, and big parties everywhere, and you know, it's just a more of a, you know, a different vibration, I think. And
how about now?
It's
they're saying you're a little low on your volume, Greg.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to be rude, but I'm trying to get it right here.
And apparently you have echo.
Well, I'm trying to get rid of it. See, I got one mic. It's right here. I turn all the other ones off and see what happens. Now, is there echo?
Is it us that's echoing?
No.
And Greg, or just Greg?
It's just me. How's the echo now? I don't hear any echo. Except I'm hearing my voice like an eighth of an inch after I say it, so it's a little weird. Might have to take the headphones off.
No, it's just Greg that's echoing.
I'm echoing right now? I hate this thing. Okay. Just talk, guys. I'll figure it out.
Oh, I haven't been muting my mic. I don't know if it's me. I'll just mute that. See.
Well, I do have two mics, but one's for you guys in Discord, and the other one is here. So, let's see. You know, I don't want to get on and they're hearing me breathing and shit. You know, I try to keep a lower profile, a lighter footprint.
I might try turning one of them off.
Well, yeah, but if I turn off Discord, then you guys can't hear me. If I turn off OBS,
because that might be your echo. They're picking your mics. Both of your mics are picking up your.
Well, I'm trying to fix it. How about now? It shouldn't be echoing right now. Can you? Am I echoing? Echo.
I think certainly as far as the moon goes, so they've noticed some fairly interesting. Well, we don't get much data back really. It doesn't seem, but they found on the dark side of the moon. They found a kind of scraped away surface, like like it's happened on Mars. So it's kind of eating away at the spherical shape. And there's also a massive difference in the type of craters you get there, which suggests there's some kind of shielding effect going on at some point. But if
the moon is named Janus, the two-faced god, right?
Yeah.
So obviously at one point, go ahead, Greg, say something.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now?
Is Greg reverbing?
No echo?
No.
I'm good?
5 by 5.
We have to wait until the live chat says it's okay.
Yeah, so you guys can check. Can you hear me? You're still hearing reverb?
No, I can't hear any reverb.
I'm hearing dry. Yeah?
No,
better?
Holloway says it's better.
Okay. I don't understand what the hell it is.
I'm not knowing.
Let me see here. Go ahead and talk, fellas. I'll work it out. Obviously, I've got two outputs, so I just gotta kill one of the outputs.
Very mysterious, kind of. Very mysterious.
Yes, everything is.
Kind of, there are legends that, what is it, the moonlight's actually cold. Actually cold on your skin rather than hot. How that works, I don't know. I wonder if it's, wonder if it reflects more ultraviolet than you'd normally get or something like that. I can't imagine. Everything seems to.
Well, we know the moon is highly reflective, but it's so small and so far away, and it's reflecting such little light compared to what the sun puts off that you wouldn't get any heat from that, just light.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, apparently it's about 1,000th of the light. About 1,000th of the light that the sun puts out. The moon will reflect on us, but I mean it's once your eyes are accustomed to it, you can easily see by it, can't you? You can. It's pretty amazing, really.
On a full moon, yeah.
Interesting. I think I got it beat.
Yeah, that's it. Hunter's moon.
I don't hear any reverb.
No, it's being broadcast through OSB or OBS.
Yeah, but I got everything off except one mic and one output. So, I don't know. Weird. What do you think about creatures living on the moon?
No.
No.
Okay. No, I don't.
Well. Now that they crashed that spaceship with the indestructible little whatchamacallit, they used the name in Star Trek.
Nomad?
No. In the new Discovery. Oh God. They're microscopic little bugs and they're indestructible.
Yeah, water bears.
They crashed the spaceship the spaceship on the surface of the moon, and now there are these little creatures rolling around the moon.
Yep.
Well, obviously just in that little spot, but they'll At some point, they'll cover the entire surface.
Well,
It'll be everywhere.
I think they must have been sending some pretty robots up there. I mean, you know, I think it's much more likely that we've had robotic visit landings, but that's been about it, really, as far as I can see. People don't seem to do very well when stuck going through the Van Allen belt.
Yeah, Shen Riha said the word tardigrade. That's
yeah. So that's a tough little monkey, that though, isn't it? You know, it's not like putting a human being through it.
Didn't miss much at all.
No.
Well, I'm talking about something going on with the moon with mining. Have you seen anything like they're covering up?
Well, yeah, they've been planning to mine the moon for a long time, but I don't think they've sent anything up there yet to do.
I think they found a sort of pretty large chromium deposits, or suspected large chromium deposits. You know, where I said all that crust had been blown away. Apparently, they reckon an asteroid, and I don't believe this, but they say some kind of asteroid hit it, and it had a chromium core which is embedded in the middle of the moon. I mean, you know, that's about the kind of level of information I get on these things. But
yeah, Sean Riha is on top of the game, man. Helium-3 is really rich.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up my notes. There's something else. There's a couple things. Go ahead and I'll find them.
How come there isn't more people in the general chat on Discord talking? It's only us three. Everybody in the live stream can come over and chat with us if they have Discord. Come join the conversation, folk.
Yeah, and as well, getting back to the different, you know, back to the astrology.
Well, that's where Hermeticism is all about.
Hermeticism.
Yeah, well, man, to hear Santos go off on it, it's got a name, something theologia, and Hermetics is tied to it, astrology. It's the ancient Egyptian original religion.
Yeah.
That's how I know it and what I learned about it. And I do it for fun, and I don't know. It's so uncanny that you can't help but think there has to be something there. Because it's just right too many times. I mean, I think the universe knows this, you know?
Well, it's also you know, they have these harmonic shapes, don't they? And you know, the strongest ones that affect you, and when there is sort of a.
You mean somatic pattern?
I just know that,
for example,
you know, I had a weird thought. What if we were electricity? Because neither us nor electricity can live in each other's world for longer than about a hundredth of a second. So we could be electricity that's having a go at life in the material world, because it can't exist in our world very long. We can't exist in theirs. Some weird thought I had.
Yeah, well, I think we are energetic form. I think we are. Our bodies seem to follow some kind of well, according to what is it? I was watching.
I hope I'm not screaming.
No, you're good, dude.
I am.
was producing biological shape from sound, sonobiology. That's it. It's a guy off the EU channel, EV channel. He's very good, buddy. Um, and basically these vortices that are firing about the place, sort of life forms. So kind of, I don't know if they mimic them particularly, but they seem to assume these nestings of these waveforms, and it produces they produce amazing things like fish and scarab beetles and butterflies, and they're all around these uh, perfect proportions, and they all exist in these kind of bubbles or waveforms that are flying around the place.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Have
Yeah.
you ever heard of the constraints of Gaia?
The constraints of Gaia.
Yeah, have you ever heard about it?
Not the constraints of, but I've been interested in a lot of Gaia stuff, to be honest.
I got it from Richard Hall. He was talking about there's a theory that it's called the constraints of Gaia, that human beings cannot get so far from the Earth and our heart stops.
Right. Well, I'll kind of go along with that in some ways, because if you think that we've been brought through our lives with the Earth sort of beating at 7.4 hertz, I think. There's a really deep 7.4. Yeah.
Well, it fluctuates. I mean,
Yeah, it's rising
the,
recently. It's
the
actually.
Earth, has just recently topped out at 78 hertz. But
Yeah, so
our brains resonate around 7.8 hertz, and that's same with the Earth. It resonates around that 7.8.
That's right, and that's when we're in. That's, I think, when we're in our sleep state. Uh,
But that's only one of the Schumann resonances. There's a few different resonances that are at different frequencies.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, but I think most life is very definitely kind of tuned into these sorts of resonances, and that when they change, life has to either creatively adapt to the change with what they're actually doing, or maybe the other thing is they can evolve
Right. Yep.
to meet the current conditions.
Interesting. Because if the Gaia, constraints is real, then there's no point in us thinking about going to another star. We're stuck here.
Well, I'm not sure that it is real, Greg. I think that our hearts would still keep beating.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think that our hearts would still keep beating, because we'd be inside of a shielded ship, and if if our heart stopped beating inside the shielded ship as soon as it started up with its shields, then we'd be fine.
Mind if I ask the topic du jour?
What's that?
Mind if I ask the topic?
Oh, we're just talking about stuff.
I like stuff.
Space travel, which in its most fundamental form. Can you get in a tin can and go all the way to Mars and still survive it?
Without sci-fi tech, basically.
Or out of the solar system and not have your heart stop.
The constraints of Gaia.
We're saying with conventional rocket tech, right? Not with like UFO stuff.
Well, any kind of technology is what the constraints of Gaia is talking about. That are saying that our hearts would stop if we left the solar system. Do I have it right, Greg? We'd have to leave the solar system?
The moon Earth system.
Oh, if we left the Earth's magnetic field, our hearts would stop?
Well, that's the theory. I don't know.
Well, the brainwave thing, maybe.
No, I think
There's the
that's
Schumann
plausible.
resonance thing.
Yeah, the Schumann resonance, but I don't think that we're necessarily.
It might be connected, but not dependently connected.
Exactly.
So just to clarify, the Earth has a particular resonant frequency because of the size and the way waves propagate around.
I think
based on the size of the Earth, it propagates about 8 times per second, or about 7.8 hertz.
Yeah. I think it's got something to do with this. I think it has something to do with the. Hang on. I think it has something to do with the solar circuit that we're on, as the reasons why the Schumann resonance are the way they are. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, the thing was the Schumann resonance. The whole cavity is between 4 and 40 hertz, which is the same frequency range that human brainwaves operate. So the suggestion is that there is some kind of a connection that we're not aware of, or that we're not consciously aware of. Now, whether that's dependent is a different question, but I find it really interesting because it might be connected.
Yeah.
I think they're connected, obviously, because we were born on this planet. But dependent, I'm not so convinced.
Yeah, I think it it might be something that could carry these. If the morphogenic fields do exist, it might be some kind of carrier of those. And if you go out of reach of those, does your mind carry on working correctly?
It would probably keep working because brains work in all kinds of weird EMI environments, but it might have a different psychology to it. You might have a different connection or emotional state or something.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who've been sort of isolated in underground Faraday cages have been really badly affected by it. So I suppose it must be a feeling of being completely cut off, really. Totally separated. Must be quite a different place to be, really.
Have you ever heard of grounding or earthing?
Indeed.
Yeah, sure.
About it? Is it real? Does it work?
Also, I have to clarify, I'm an electrical engineer, at least by amateur.
That's great.
So the answer is yes, if your environment if your ground is grounded, if that makes any sense.
It's not like you can just plug it into the wall and have it work. It's got to be like no.
Electrical grounds could work, but they're a little bit noisy. A regular earth ground could work too, but basically, if you're in the wrong part of town, the ground can be hot because of complex harmonics and things from the ground. I spent a few months actually trying to listen to earth waves, and the location I'm at didn't work because the power line noise was 1,000 times stronger than the signal I was looking for.
So it'd be better to be in the country then.
If you're, we'll say earthing probably does not work well in a metropolitan area. Like there's probably just no good way around it in that phase.
Well, I would think that you could do some earthing in valleys within cities, like streams. I think that they would be okay to ground in those areas, just because of the fact that they're usually lower than the surrounding cities, and they would have a different charge.
Well, it really depends what the ground's like. Basically, if your ground is hot, then you could still ground yourself, but you leave the ground disconnected. So you basically build a Faraday cage, but you don't connect it to anything.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you're going down into a valley that's away from the hot area, the hot air area doesn't usually encompass the valleys where the water flows, right? The energy usually doesn't travel that far,
It's a lot of
hundreds of
factors
meters
for
away.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, the energy from the power grid just usually doesn't travel that far away from the houses.
Depends on the frequency. The 60 hertz harmonics you could probably pick up 100 miles away, but degrades over time, of course, or over distance.
So you could probably ground if you lived in a big city, you could probably go to the valleyways or streams and waterways of your city and sit beside the water and plant your feet in the water, or plant your feet in the earth close to it, and ground yourself and have a good.
After rainstorms in summer, we always go out in the backyard, barefoot for half hour.
Nice.
And it's, you feel like you're doing something for yourself. I didn't think about pollution, of course.
There's always mind over matter.
Right.
Yeah, if you think, even if it's a placebo, it'll still work.
You think you're doing good for yourself, it'll. Exactly.
Never has been, Shan. Even when I was a kid, I was so intrigued by electricity. What is it? What is it that bites me when I stick something metal in a wall plug?
Don't do that.
No. Bobby,
that is a bit magical.
Learn my lesson. Absolutely. It is.
Go ahead.
It is magical. Electricity.
Yeah. I came across this story about the Aries spiders. Have you ever heard of that one?
The transit thing?
It was this guy who was I think back in 1820. He was studying sort of Faraday's contemporary, something like that. And anyway, he was putting electric charges through kind of tin cans with a load of, I don't know, all sorts of kinds of shit on it. I don't know what. All sorts of oils and gunk and all sorts of things. But anyway, he was convinced that these spiders had started to formulate where the arcs were. These kind of insects had formed, and he got Faraday to sort of replicate his experiment, and it happened to Faraday as well. The Akari insects. It got me quite in. It's quite a.
I guess that could be how you could describe electric arc discharges in that era. I mean, we didn't have a good word for lightning.
Well, these guys were pretty, obviously pretty amazing scientists. So they were, these were serious boys down at the Royal Academy and all that business, And like I said, Faraday, who was like a complete star by then, he sort of backed all his experiments up. So, he actually thought whatever this charge was in this environment, it was actually creating a life form.
Red Faraday tried to prove gravity was an electrodipole effect, and he failed. I'd be curious to want to know what he was doing as experiments.
Yeah.
And then why did he quit?
Well, I mean, it was such early days as well when he was doing those experiments. I mean, he was basically designing them all from scratch himself.
Yeah, the technology of the day, there was only so much you could do. It's kind of surprising they could do the Michelson-Morley experiment in that era.
And what did that involve? Sorry, the
Michelson-Morley was the ether wind thing. They built an interferometer, placed it on top of a giant, like 20-ton cylindrical stone that was floating in a vat of mercury, and then spinning it in a certain direction at different times of the year and measuring the fringe shifts that happen in the interferometer. Like that, this is measuring, nanometer precision or lower, and this was before electricity.
Yeah. He had some really fundamental insight, didn't he? Quite incredible.
You realize what Tesla did in his day with basically just wire and capacitors. There was nothing else back then.
Yeah.
So if you read through Tesla's Colorado Springs notes, there's one of the sections where he winds a coil and he wants to calculate the inductance of it. So to measure the inductance, he spends 2 days in the notebook connecting it to different motors, measuring RPMs, frequency, speeds, blah, blah, blah. Basically, so Tesla spends 2 days measuring the inductance of a motor. Today, we have a meter that can do that in about a quarter second.
Yeah. But then
they didn't have oscilloscopes back then. You couldn't see a waveform. You had to guess it or hear it or feel it.
Or mathematically figure it out.
Be able to predict it.
Yeah. Well, they had something a little like that, where basically they shot a freaking paper tape at this freaking speed of sound and tried to write it on a graph real quick. But that was expensive and chaotic, and that wasn't until the 1910s or 20s, I think. It was like an oscilloscope, but printed right onto paper. Pretty insane.
One thing about Tesla that intrigues me is apparently he was using some kind of resonance in some town, and it started to break the building apart, and he came and destroyed it, claimed if he wouldn't have shut it off, it could have cracked the earth in half. Did you ever read that?
Yeah, that's Tesla's earthquake.
That was the building. That was that it would crumble a building. He said the same concept could be used to do that, yes.
Well, no, he had a little device that he built, and he turned it on, and the building started shaking. And if he didn't destroy the device or stop it from running, it would have brought the building down around him.
Exactly. That was one of his early ones, East Coast. I think I forget what park, but that was before the Colorado Springs experiments.
That was, I think, while he was working with Edison, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might have been.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was his wireless transmission experiments, wasn't it? Where I think the local transformers were all exploding, and
yeah, that was when Colorado Springs happened and everything lit up.
Yeah, he was trying to shoot a beam into somebody at the North Pole, and he missed and hit Tunguska. You hear that?
That was one of the Bearden ones. It's possible, yeah.
Hell of a miss.
But I haven't heard any primary sources talk about that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Wall says that the soil there carbon dates for a future date, so it must have been
Well, it was the electrical energy that was released from the thunderbolt that rose up to meet this bolide that was flying through the Earth's atmosphere, and just changed the carbon in the area.
That's right. I agree with that.
We understand that these thunderbolts or these electrical arc discharges, they change, add or remove carbon from a specific area.
And all they measure is the carbon dating is a specific isotope, like carbon 60 and carbon 40 or something. 14?
Yeah, carbon 14.
But it was like the ratio between two different carbon isotopes. And yeah, arc discharges could create really interesting, novel types of carbon.
Yeah. So Earth more or less probably does have that defense shield he talks about. It just makes complete sense.
What, the magnetosphere?
Well, that the Earth would destroy something with a thunderbolt before it made a big pit. The pit, you see, is the hole, the charge put into the ground. After it destroyed.
Or from the hole that where the charge left the ground to meet the object that was coming into the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, basically like the physical limits of reality.
Well, I mean, the object has to be very close to the Earth's surface for this thunderbolt to be released. Not all the time. It all depends on the object that's coming into the atmosphere, how negatively charged compared to the Earth it is.
I mean, I guess it would be how charged is it, either positive or negative? How fast is it moving? How dense is it?
Well,
how large is it? And then also, what is it composed of? Is it dielectric, diamagnetic, magnetic?
If we're going by the electric universe theories, we understand that all asteroids and all comets are more negatively charged than the Earth because they spend more time outside the.
Or they just travel at
the area of the
relative velocity.
In deep orbit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
But then if they're basically batteries.
Well, all matter has a charge. And all matter, I think, has Birkeland current connected to it, giving it a charge. If it spends a lot of time further away from the sun, its charge would be less than the Earth.
I see where you're going with that.
What's that, Greg?
What creates the Birkeland current?
They're everywhere. They're just there. They're all the filaments between the galaxies. They're the filaments that are in the arms of the galaxies. They're the filaments that supply energy to the sun. The filaments that break off from the sun and supply energy to the Earth, Saturn, Jupiter, any other object that's within the solar system's field of influence. They get connected to by a Birkeland current.
Well, big cosmic
I would get a little more specific.
Born on. What causes those things?
So a Birkeland current is a current. So a current is a charge that is being dissipated. So the charge that builds up as the charge is dissipated creates this.
Or it's
based
moving.
on
The charge
based on Lorentz current in the right-hand rule, it creates a spiral pattern. So this spiral pattern tends to create a spiral in one direction and going one way, and a spiral in the other direction going the other way. So the analogy is kind of like when you see a tornado, the little tornado in a tube bottle thing. As the charge goes in one direction, it will tend to acquire a certain spiral pattern to it. As the current increases, that spiral pattern will form in tighter and tighter and tighter, much like the eye of a tornado condensing tighter and tighter and tighter as it becomes more dense. So it sort of creates a thread, and then that thread sustains itself.
Excellent.
Yep.
But it's not. Well, it's not everywhere per se. It's everywhere that there is current. So anywhere that there is charge that is being dissipated or exchanged. In a static state, it would not exist.
A Birkeland current wouldn't exist in a static state. I'm not sure that there is any static state.
But
In order for
true.
Birkeland current to be created, all you need is two charged particles.
Yeah, and
moving
a particular
in opposite
critical
direction,
to
and then
have
that'll
it
create a
form
magnetic field.
for Birkeland. Well, the magnetic field is the current.
Yeah, I've heard the Birkeland current doesn't sort of use a waveform. It's kind of it's a standing field. Is that correct? Is it a standing?
It would be
doesn't seem to be a
predominantly
time
a
component.
DC relationship. Yes, it can have waves on top of it, just like a DC current can have waves superimposed on it. But it would be predominantly a DC form. Yes.
And is it still a Birkeland current if there's no energy going through it or very little energy going through it? I mean, what is it? Is it just basically protons or?
The analogy would be: is a tornado exist if there's no air flowing? So the analogy is if there is no current flowing, there's no Birkeland current flowing. The current flows when there is a charge imbalance or charge being exchanged. So this does happen everywhere in nature, but the Birkeland current builds up more. It builds up more, becomes tighter and more defined, the larger current that's being exchanged.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say exchange. It's just movement of charge.
Well, this charge is moving through
energy exchange.
Well, yeah. Well,
current displacement. Displacement would be the word I'm looking for.
Yep, those. Okay, there you go. But those are terms that are seen on what happens to electricity on the Earth. In space, it's a little bit different. That these charged particles flow in these filaments and create these magnetic fields that then Bennett pinch down on themselves to on a large scale create galaxies. Now we're talking about multitudes and multitudes of charged particles, positive and negative charges moving in opposite directions and spinning on the right hand rule that create these massive magnetic fields that NASA sees that they say that they're frozen magnetic fields like a magnet that you pull off of one of your little magnet boards, like any regular little magnet, a frozen magnetic field. But in order for that magnet to have charge, to be magnet, it has to have had a massive amount of energy flowing through that material to initiate that magnetic field and to freeze that magnetic field in that material.
Yeah.
And that can only happen on a cosmic scale. I mean, that can only happen on a cosmic scale where these massive charges are flowing through the cosmos, creating these magnetic fields and creating frozen magnetic fields in material. It's slightly different out in space, the way magnetism and electricity is generated out there.
Same principle, but because the scale is so much bigger, there's certain patterns that would tend to develop.
Exactly.
So on a smaller scale, you tend to get more spherical formations. On a galactic scale, you tend to get more spiral formations.
Spiraling, yeah.
Or
well,
more
we
flat.
we have our sun. Our sun is being supplied by a Birkeland current that's not spherical. That is being it's in dark mode. We can't see it, but you can bet your arse that it is spiraling in both directions. And I think a lot of the circuitry would be DC, but there is a lot of AC circuitry going on in there, a lot of AC current movement that's going on. In fact, the Electric Universe, Wall and the guys, they say that the Earth is on an AC circuit, if I'm not mistaken.
Different charge to the day and the night, yeah?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with day and nights. It's just the way energy comes in and out of the north and south poles of the
Here's a question for you. Why is it that the barometer is at its high at the same exact time, and it's also at its low at the same exact time every day? 4 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What causes it to be like that?
Really? Yours does that?
Yeah, the barometer. Yeah. It's always at its low at the same exact time every day. And it's always at its high. And it's 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. I got that from Velikovsky in the book Earth and Upheaval.
That would be a really easy one to test or to confirm.
Yeah. No, it has. It's got all kinds of records.
Well, yeah, I'm. He's not talking about the barometer showing that there's a storm coming. If you track the barometer's movements over a period of time, you'll see that.
I'm assuming he's talking about the decadal, basically pattern, not the inner high-low pressure front.
It's whatever it is, the reading is at its highest at the same exact time, and it's at its lowest, and it's 12 hours apart. I don't know if it's
right, relative. Well, and then every other factor on top of that, but that would be the underlying factor, I suppose.
Yeah. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that the regular variations are superimposed on what would allegedly be this.
There's 2 cycles going on. There's the cycle of the 12-hour cycle, and then there's the cycle of the clouds and their influence on the barometer.
It's something.
So I would say it would be the lowest pressure in the morning and the highest pressure in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I guess sunrise ionization, right? The question I would have would be, how does that vary over seasons, and does that change northern versus southern hemisphere?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
So if there's seasonal variation, then that would probably apply to solar position, which would probably be solar ionization, charging the magnetosphere kind of thing.
It was Charles Ginenthal. Sorry, it wasn't Velikovsky. It was in that book. Velikovsky. Oh, come on. Newton and Einstein. I have it in my playlist. It's there. He talks about it. It's very interesting, though. What keeps those things? I would think it'd be electric force in some way. I mean, it makes the wind blow, doesn't it?
Directly or indirectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't pressure an electrical?
Of course, I would think so.
I think so too.
Electrostatic forces could be considered a pressure.
Do the electric universe model consider tornadoes electrical? Yeah, but
yes.
Yeah, we do.
I was just looking at the lowest recorded barometric pressure was during a typhoon. So I guess when there's really low pressure, like that's when you get a tornado. Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, tornado, or there's a low pressure area around a tornado. Same with a hurricane. There's a larger low pressure around a hurricane. But yeah, most storms result in low pressure.
So it's like, I was talking about the plasmasphere around the planet a few times with people, and for some reason it keeps coming up. Like, what if there was a gap in it? Because people talking about making a space elevator or something. How do we get through the plasma layer? But it's almost like if it was less present, then maybe, I don't know, in my mind, like, yeah, that low pressure, or like that's because lightning is a Berkeley current again, so it's like for that energy to come in through space, if the pressure is low or it's changed in the plasmasphere, then that's like a tornado.
Dynamics and systematic interactions of astrophysical plasmas that allow energy to be conveyed over great distances. The evolution of cosmic plasma.
Is that Alvin?
Interesting stuff.
Who did you just quote? Alvin?
It's one of my notes. I don't know. I didn't put his name here. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. It's called the dynamical characteristics of plasmas. I think it was Tony.
That could be a Birkeland.
It was Tony Peratt, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
okay,
it might be Peratt if he's talking about plasma.
It's structuring in cells results in a relative motion, however slow, of plasma clouds whose dimensions may be measured in hundreds or megaparsecs or gigaparsecs. All plasma clouds may be considered a system. They are coupled by electric currents, charged particle beams. They induce in each other. These beams are the source of energy transfer from large slow-moving plasma to smaller plasma regions that may release the energy abruptly or cause local plasmas to pinch to the condensed state. That's what I got. I think it was Tony.
It sounds pretty modern.
Yeah, that's a little above my pay.
Me too. It was
The real question is, what can you do with it?
Then I was like, huh? What's a particle beam?
It's a beam of particles that every galactic center shoots out every once in a while. Every plasmoid does the same thing. Even the ones that are created in the laboratories, they see these beams being shot out.
Are these that are shooting at the poles, both poles? Is it these that they depict? So you know you got this. Well, like they used to do when they were trying to depict a black. You had these sort of beams shooting out the top and bottom of it.
Yeah, they used to call them beams of X-rays. Remember? So
Right.
nothing can escape a black hole except these beams of X-rays.
That's right. I always wonder what that. I thought they were what they called the Hawkins particle or something. What he discovered, you know, the Hawkins whatever. Yeah. They're still hanging on a little bit to the black hole stuff, aren't they?
Well, before Hawking passed away, if I'm not mistaken, he discounted event horizons on black holes.
How many guys think
that's part of the model. Sorry, say that again?
How many guys do you think they got to play Hawking all now?
Oh, you mean on TV? Oh,
yeah, wasn't he just
I don't know.
kind of a dumb you or something? You know, when that guy would die, they put another guy there so they could talk for him?
No, I don't think so. That's conspiracy theory.
Sounds like a good story.
Yeah, he was a bit of a Dalek, apparently.
He only lived 4 years with that.
A bit of a Dalek. You watch too much Doctor Who, man.
Yeah, far too much. Talk
for him. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, but I mean, he sort of recounted most of his a lot of his discoveries. You know, all right, they were very clever and sophisticated. Well, just elegant math tricks apparently, and I don't know. I don't know how important they are really in the scheme of things.
Well, we can't really do anything with it. We're just talking about mathematical equations on equations.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, just only totally sort of, you know, just carrying on a sort of Einsteinian, carry on along that road, make a living out of it. You know, and he also spent a lot of time trying to prove non-existence of well, you don't need God in the equation at all, or so. You know, he was very much a materialist kind of bloke.
I remember that. Sorry, there is no God.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Well, when you put it that way.
You see, this is how it works. Energy cannot come from nothing or go into nothing. Energy has to every thermodynamics in a closed system, except for this one time. This Big Bang thing. All of those rules don't apply, but from then on, everything's good. Modern science grants itself one modern miracle.
Yeah, let's just ignore what happened at the Big Bang. Forget about
that's
all
their
that.
free miracle that they get that one.
Yeah. Astounding, really. But I think you know, most of the old myths and what have you talk about you know, the word, you know, the spoken word sort of evoked was first, and then that evoked a vibration which created sort of a 3D space, and then that was inhabited by various I don't know, energies flying around, and
I think there's some Silmarillion, the Tolkien stories like that. But that's based on myths, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think he tries to explain the world in his own mythical way, doesn't he? And I think people tend to have very similar kind of visions when they imagine these things. So I suppose he's good at expressing those. You know, I think a lot of people tend to put those into some kind of visual format in the mind when they're imagining stuff like that.
Music first, then language, then art to describe language.
So yeah, but you know, and of course,
my mic's a mess.
Apparently so.
Man, I can't win. I hear myself fine. I don't know. You guys hear me,
I hear you fine.
Why isn't it good out there? Let's see. I got the mic. Okay, I cranked it up. Now it should be good. Because I can hear me perfect.
We haven't heard any change in your level, so maybe if you crank it up like you just did, hopefully that'll do.
Well, I just.
How's Greg's voice now, folks? And we have to wait a few seconds.
Can you hear it? Is it too low? Talk to me.
Oh, it's balanced. It's fine.
Type F-I-N-E.
Yeah. Hang on. Shit.
I sound like a distance with an echo. Right now. Okay. Small echo.
That might be him.
All right. Well, I'm talking into it pretty loud. Big echo.
Well, don't talk loud. Just talk normal.
I gotta get rid of that echo. I know I can.
Because you've got two channels on OBS. You've got like the audio.
I only have one out and one in.
I guess have you got the input from Discord?
Yeah, they're saying the volume's fine now, Greg. There's echo, but
okay, I'm trying to get rid of the echo. How about now? I really like to get rid of it. I'm only in one channel. I don't know where the echo could be coming from.
I can't even hear an echo.
I don't know either.
We won't hear it. It'll be heard on YouTube because of OBS. Right. And if you turn off your mic in OBS, we can't hear you. They can't hear you at all either, and it's weird. It's
I know.
strange.
I have the only thing I have open is the slideshow. There's no sound connected to it. I have the mic auxiliary and the desktop audio. And that's it. I don't know where that second line. It's acting like a chorus. So if I can find it, get rid of it, and I'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's Discord. I think it's something to do with OBS picking up your mic and picking it up again here in Discord. Doing it.
Devices. I'll check it out. Desktop audio. Engaged and my speakers. Desktop mic, my USB microphone. Everything else is disabled.
Yeah, they were saying that earlier you were faint, and a lot of the people are saying that they don't mind the.
Yeah, but is it really bad?
I've heard you echoing before, and it's not that.
So is something.
I know, right?
Ding, 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 ding. All right, go ahead. Resume, gentlemen.
Keep messing with it, Greg, and every once in a while say, "How's my voice now?"
Yeah, that's what I'm doing here. How's my echo now?
We'll have to wait a few seconds until it gets broadcast to you.
Yeah.
So they reckon this Van Allen belt is quite an amazing kind of structure.
Same.
It is.
Yeah, it seems to form a shape from which these life forms seem to resonate. The sonobiology, spiders and butterflies and fish and all sorts of worms and stuff. Shapes of flowers.
Sorry, I had to laugh. Renegade Yodelay. Greg's echo.
Yeah, and these guys who've done quite a big stint in that space station were pretty ill by the time they got back. Apparently they said they thought it was basically the bones were crumbling and they lost all the muscle weight and all sorts. Their heart shrunk and all this business. And they reckon they were actually adapting, so kind of like mutating into more like fish kind of beings. So I don't know if long distance space travel would be, and especially if you just happen to run into a solar flare, then you're going to get fried, like a can of beans or something, completely fried.
Well, if we look at Project Sapphire, we can start thinking about using electrical shielding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at what happened to the probe, when it was dropped into that one double layer that held temperatures of 81,000 degrees, it got vaporized instantly. Now, if we can create a double shielding effect, electrical double shielding effect around a ship, we could even fly close into the sun without being harmed. You can say metaphasic shielding, like on Star Trek. It can work.
Well, the Earth
if
Earth's
you can generate,
magnetosphere is an electromagnetic system. So as long as you replicate that on a lab level, with superconducting magnets or something, then yeah,
yeah, you'd have to have a lot of energy.
How is it now? No echo. Boom. I defeated it.
Right, to get back to the tin can theory.
Now they should be able to hear you.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Can you hear it? There we go.
They got you?
Yeah, they can hear it.
Excellent. Okay.
Right, so we've negotiated the Van Allen belt now. We're pretty well cooked. Our bodies are falling to bits, and now we've got to go through the asteroid belt. We're doing about 30,000 miles per second, and we really don't want to hit the smallest little bit of dirt. else we're gonna be toast again. So yeah, we're doing pretty well. I think we made it past Mars, maybe, if we're still in one piece. For pretty cold by now, getting pretty nippy out there.
Fixed your
the
echo.
probes are doing okay.
Yeah, see, the asteroid belt isn't as asteroidy as most people think.
The echo is gone.
There's a lot of space in between these asteroids.
Well, I can imagine.
Is my echo back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have no sort of. You can imagine the beads of sweat sort of developing on these guys going through the asteroid belt. No, it's just
can't win them all.
Well, I mean, Voyager 1 and 2 made it. They didn't have to transverse the asteroid belt because they were sent out on steep angles out of the solar plane, the solar ecliptic.
Oh yeah.
And so they didn't have to transverse the asteroid belt.
I see, right. Yes, well, yeah. Yeah. Well, then you wonder about these sort of these vortex effects and cylinders having tipping all the charge to the outside and how stable would your aircraft, well, your spacecraft flight be if you weren't on that ecliptic sort of if you wavered off that, you know what I'm saying?
The ecliptic is basically just solar wind. The charged particles leaving the anode of the sun, flying out to the cathode of the edge of the solar, or the sun's magnetic field, and then transversing up or down depending on their charge. They go, if they're positive, I think they go up to the top and then down back into the sun, and if they're negative, they go down and then back into the sun in a Taurus shell field or a bubble.
Yeah.
Where do the Van Allen belts come from?
Well, the Van Allen belts are the solar wind that gets trapped inside the magnetic field of the Earth, and they get they get pushed into and concentrated into these belt regions.
Yeah, it's the Earth's magnetic field, which again, it's this is what produces the Schumann cavity, which is then produces the Schumann waves, and that's that's the cavity at which the Earth's magnetic field is interacting with the solar winds.
Wait a sec. Jay just made a comment. Has the line wave on the moon that was caught on high-res camera by Crow 77 been discussed? Yes, we think we figured it out. What it is, we think that wave that is witnessed was witnessed on the moon, and has been witnessed on Jupiter and Saturn. We have seen these waves propagate before on multiple bodies. We think that we have it figured out that these are supersonic jets, and the that wave is the front, the shock front of the supersonic jet passing in the area. That's what we think it is now.
Have you considered thermocline?
Well,
basically high pressure, low pressure. Basically, a warm air front will cause a change in refraction that could cause some kind of shift that looks like that.
Right, but this seems to be moving across the sky at a fairly
well, the air, the clouds and all that move across the sky too. You'll tend to notice most of those waves occur either early in the morning or later in the evening, when the thermal fronts usually kick in.
And there's some speculation that that these wave fronts are the double layers that we can't always see, but just show up every once in a while under certain conditions. Our magnetic double layer.
Well, you know when it's a hot day and you can see like a charcoal grill off in the distance, and you see that shimmering effect from the light being bent. Basically, when you get a warm air front or a cool air front, that same thing happens up in the atmosphere. But you can't really see it unless you're really, really zoomed in. So sort of as an artifact of the telescope, you pick up those kind of fronts.
Yeah, but these fronts that you're talking about, they're wavy fronts. These fronts that we're seeing on the moon are like perfectly straight. Like a line across the image.
Yeah, it looks like a frame that's being updated pixel by pixel to me. To be honest, it looks like some kind of, almost it seems to be updating from the bottom to the top of the screen, or sort of diagonally. And
a refresh, yeah,
refresh sort of thing. That's how it looks to me, really.
But again,
so that would actually make a pretty good experiment then. So what if we replicated something like that, where we used what do they call it? Those vortex cannons? You heat up a vortex cannon with some warm air, and then shoot it in front of a telescope. And if we can reproduce the same type of effects using simple thermal currents like that, that would actually solve it. That'd make a good weekend project.
If you knew what you were doing. Most of us don't.
do a YouTube. Look up vortex cannon, and then basically just heat the thing up with a hot air gun or hair dryer or something like that. And if you got a telescope outside at night, you just blow it in the right direction and see if you can get that same effect.
Right.
If I get a free weekend, I'll test it out sometime. But it's not that complicated. It looks like anybody could do it. What do you need? Like a trash bag, a cardboard box, and a telescope?
It'd be amazing to see the results of that thing, and then so you'd be trying to replicate the effects of that wave effect.
Exactly. You'd be trying to. It would be as if a front of warm air or a front of cool air were coming in, and because you're using a vortex cannon that's relatively slow and easy to aim and predict. If I get bored one weekend, I'll take a look at it.
I suspect you have a telescope that you can capture the images.
Get a good shot of a full moon or something like that while you're doing the test.
No, I mean you have a good telescope that you can capture the video.
Halfway decent.
Oh, okay. Because I don't. I only have a little.
Well, mine's Chinesium, but you can see the moon pretty
Chinese.
good.
Mine's a Bushnell, but it doesn't have any updated optics, video camera sensors and stuff in it. It's just point and look.
I got one of those little cell phone camera mount things. Finicky, but they do work.
Oh, Chinesium that way? Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
So you capture the image with your cell phone camera.
Yeah, and you basically just line the thing up with the optics. It doesn't work for the really small optics, but for the wide scope ones, clear as a bell.
Right, and you would need a mechanism to be able to track the object that you're looking at.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my telescope doesn't have tracking stuff.
Nor does
manual track.
But the moon moves relatively slow. You could take a good shot of that.
True enough. You still with us, Greg?
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm just listening. I like chilling and listening sometimes,
Si, senor.
Are they hearing me saying that I'm echoing and I sound like I'm in Dodger Stadium, I bet?
You're still echoing, but it's manageable. At least they can hear everyone else too now. But they mostly come to hear you talk, bro.
Well, it's okay. I only talk if I have something semi-intelligent to say. Wow, cool. No echo. I love that. I love you. There's a link in the community. You go up to my little pages there. You look at community. You click on that. You go to the top comment from me, and there's a link, and that's the link for what is it, Rick?
Discord.
Discord.
I just put it up.
You look for general chat. You click it once, you're in, like Flint. Remember that movie? I used to love our man Flint. I didn't know if I liked him better or Matt Helm. Obviously, James Bond was the best guy, but Matt Helm was pretty cool too. You remember Matt Helm from The Murderer's Row?
Yeah, my favorite was Gettin.
I like that phone on Flint. I always wanted.
Yeah, I like it.
No, Discord is wonderful. I love it. Yeah. If anybody wants to join us, come on in. Just not 50 at a time. Greg is here. Truth Cowgirl's always looking out for me. I like that. All right, guys, don't everybody just shut up at once. Come on, start talking. Start bestowing some of that golden knowledge out on me.
You guys familiar with EM drive and quantized inertia?
No. Do tell.
So EM drive, you may have seen in the news the last decade or so. That's the NASA thruster using just electricity to produce thrust.
Yeah.
the general setup was a big ass microwave shooting into a tapered cavity, basically a cone, and then the cone is supposed to generate an asymmetric thrust in one direction using just waves. So some of the advancements on that recently, Mike McCullough, this UK physicist, has a theory called quantized inertia, which is basically special relativity mixed with the regular physics. And it builds on EM drive and presents a method to do the same thing using just light instead of microwaves. So the idea is basically you shine light into a cone, and the cone is reflective on the inside, so the light bounces around thousands and thousands of times, the same way as microwaves. And using basically an LED and a cone with a mirror inside, you get net thrust in one direction with no fuel.
Very good. Yeah.
So
yeah.
On Twitter the last couple of months, I've been tinkering around, working on a system that can both generate that and detect the very, very tiny thrust that you get from it. So the main problem from the amateur level is the thrusts that are generated are somewhere between the order of like 10 to 100, say 10 to 1,000 micronewtons, or micrograms of thrust. So for reference, 1 milligram, or we'll say a sesame seed, is about 2 or 3 milligrams. So when you're talking about 10 micrograms, you're talking about cutting a sesame seed into hundredths.
Is that LaViolette's ether physics?
It is compatible with the Lorentzian electric universe view.
Okay.
Which is special relativity, not general relativity.
Greg, I just wanted to mention the fact that I put up another link to the Discord, and below that is the new link to the Sapphire project. Arion.ca is the company that is looking to develop the new Sapphire energy generation device. Not the it's based on the Sapphire project, but these guys are looking for $20 million in funding so that they can build the first device and have it run and
20 million?
Change the world. Yeah, 20 million as opposed to the Large Hadron Collider and the tokamak systems that cost billions upon billions of dollars to just
but still,
make
20
one
million
device.
is a big number. I want to see an itemized list on that shit.
No, I think 20 million isn't that big of a number to create a prototype.
Give me the contract. I'll do it for a lot less.
Well,
I wish him all the
give me the requirements. We can work something out. A lot of the stuff is not as complicated or fancy as it seems.
I would say talk to Mont. You and him can get together and hammer out all the details.
We're talking about high voltage generator. There's 4 or 5 different ways to do that. Literal microwave will get you 4 kilovolts.
Right. Well, I mean, he's got to pay a team of guys to help him build this and all of this stuff. So it takes a little.
Yeah, I know. I just figure the amount of money that you have and figure out what you can do with it.
Well, if I were you, I would wait till they build the prototype, take one home,
exactly,
and reverse engineer the bitch.
Give me a freaking schematic. We'll build something. Or we'll say, you don't have to build a freaking 747. Just give me the model for a Wright Brothers plane.
And hope it doesn't blow up because of the heat.
If that is a success, right?
Not if you're standing right beside it.
I assume is that the LENR, the cold fusion type?
No.
Or we're talking more of a Philo Farnsworth type inertial electrostatic confinement fusion.
It's not fusion.
Parametric energy synthesis.
Well, I don't know what the hell that you just said there, but okay.
Tesla.
It uses about, I think it's 80 watts of energy to do what it does, to make elements, to create elements in the chamber. It transmutates elements from one element into another element, and it also can remediate radioactive materials. It can remove radioactivity from a material, changing that material into another material. It can slow down the speed of UV light by 5,000 times. It's created
pretty big relativistic shift.
Well, you're not familiar with Project Sapphire?
Oh, I'm familiar with it. I didn't see every little detail. I'm not sure what the last few months I've been busy with my own projects.
Right. Well, it's created 9 out of the 11 elements that we see in the cosmos in the chamber.
Right. I saw the transmutation, the anomalous power jump, the
so they were running
the multiple layer system. That was pretty beautiful.
Yeah, when they were running, and they got this runaway heat effect when they were only running at 7% of that 80 watts of energy. That's what? 7% of 80 watts is what? Next to nothing.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of resemblance to the Farnsworth meltdown that happened. What do they call it? The cold fusion Farnsworth fusers. Sometimes in the late days, there were a couple instances where his systems had gone critical to the point where they pull the power and it keeps running for 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, a feedback loop is occurring there.
Listening to
Yeah,
Dollar.
let me see. I think I have a post on that. 1 sec.
He had stars and galaxies in it and stuff. I heard Dollar. That's what Dollar said.
Yeah, star in a jar. It's very analogous to that. Just lower pressures and lower power.
Thanks, Renegade. 5.5 watts, and it was getting, it was heating to 600 Celsius. Wow.
It was a catalyst.
Yeah, exactly. It was the catalyst that they introduced into the chamber that caused that runaway effect. Some physical feedback loop.
Oh, there we go. Posted general.
Right, yeah.
It's very related to the Sapphire project. Basically, the ancestor up.
Yeah. It looks like an anode-cathode relationship.
The difference is the Farnsworth system operated on a much higher voltage, and it operated in AC resonance rather than the DC system that the Sapphire seems to use.
Yeah, I was going to say DC is the preferred mode of power that Sapphire runs on.
I'm really surprised they were able to get the double layers or the multi-layers with DC power. That was unexpected.
Yeah, I think it was unexpected for them too. Because they weren't Monty and some of the crew there were into the electric universe, but they didn't believe fully in it until they fired up this experiment and they went, whoa. Like, I know Michael Claridge, he was involved in the electric universe before the sapphire experiment, but Monty wasn't. Monty was an outsider. If I think I'm right, I'm not sure 100%, but I think I'm right about that. In other words, don't quote me.
Can I quote you on that?
Yeah, you can quote me on that.
There is only one force in this universe that is truly awesome. That is the electrical force. The nuclear force or any of those, that's all just incidental. If it wasn't for the electric force, none of them would exist.
Not even the magnetic force.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It goes to the chicken and the egg.
It never ceases to boggle my mind. It's
but the Iroquois were kind of a famous one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's quite a popular game. Quite a popular game now. It's really well. I loved it at the time. But yeah, who was it? I think it was Wild Bill Hickok came to Manchester in the fair of I think it might have been 1875.
And he got
yeah, and he came with I think it might have been Annie Oakley, you know, the trick shooter. And he brought he came with some Indian guys and they did a Wild West show in the Bellevue at Manchester, and you know, thousands of people went to see him. But from that, then the boys' schools were adopting sport around that time, and so all the Manchester schools adopted lacrosse as opposed to soccer or rugby. Theirs was lacrosse.
Very strange.
Yeah, so quite a lot of history about that, really, you know.
Well, I went to a fight once and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good fun. Yeah.
Ontario is the home of sapphire. Yeah, it is. Sapphire's in Mississippi.
Where do you Canucks have all the fun?
I know, right?
Is that the offset all the snow you have to put up with?
Well, only 6 months of the year.
Oh, only.
Well, today was +7. Tomorrow's going to be +10. That's Celsius, folks, not Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I think we're looking at about 7 or 8 degrees. It's raining most of the time. We've had a couple of days of spring recently. Back to the rain next couple of days.
Same here, but you get a glimpse of what's coming.
Yeah, at least I saw the first pipistrelle bat out. That was nice to see them. It's one of its first journeys out for the year. Little pipistrelle, pretty beautiful little things, yeah.
Hey, Paulie, you like John Taylor Gatto, right? You know what I'm talking about?
What was that again?
Paulie, you posted about John Taylor Gatto, you know, the underground history of education. Is that you?
Yeah, I don't know if I posted it in here, but yeah, John Taylor Gatto is really interesting.
Yeah, man. I wonder if Greg's heard of him. But
Never heard of him. What's his
Really?
name? What's his name?
John Taylor Gatto. He was he basically kind of helped kick off the homeschooling thing in a lot of respects. His research into the origins of the schooling system itself is one well worth investigating. Give me a minute and I'll post the video here. It's like a 40-minute documentary, but it's well worth the watch.
Well, his conclusions were basically that it's a control system
Absolutely.
meant to dumb down the population.
Of course.
like, namely,
Yes.
it's the Prussian education system that was developed to have a obedient set of workers or soldiers.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation like this with my oldest son. It's pretty good. We recorded it. We were talking about the Ash conformity paradigm or whatever it's called. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm not a conformist or conformist. I never have been. I left the church when I was young. I didn't want to engage in the financial system. In other words, I didn't want to basically make a lot of money so that I could pay a lot of taxes, so that the taxes could go to the banks. Yeah. Tried to distance myself from all.
What does that have to do with the price of apples?
Well, if you don't feed them the money that they want, then I don't know. It just worked for me.
What I noticed here in the school system is if the kid is college prep type, straight A's, they're all rah rah all about them. Kids who are on the fringe are usually on Adderall or they're on Concentra, and they're like zombies until school's over, and then they get their brain back.
Nice.
It's ridiculous. People don't want to do their jobs anymore. When I went to school, they didn't have crap like they didn't have people on chemicals. They had different groups
No.
of different skills. Whatever your skill was, that's the group you went to. It wasn't very hard. What's wrong today?
When I went to school, it was more factions of cliques, less skills.
For sure.
They seem to be far more interested in social conditioning than any education.
Well, every single freaking science is wrong. How could anybody learn anything?
You got to figure out what gender you are now.
You got to learn the fairy tale first, and then okay, now I got to forget that and learn the truth.
Well, yeah. What's the point of learning stuff? Yeah, get a machine to do that. That seems to be the attitude.
Our history is bogus. Our science is bogus. It's just.
I just needed to correct something. Stonewall Research said the money that funds Sapphire came from the banks. That's incorrect. The money that came from that funded Sapphire project came from private donations. People that were interested in or are interested in the electric universe theories. It didn't come from the banks, my friend.
Yeah, I stopped paying attention after I see it at work, and then they cleared the electric sun. I haven't gone back and seen what they were into since.
Well, earlier I posted a link for the new website that they put up. They're looking for the $20 million in donations to reach the next level to create a prototype of the energy generation device that they're pretty sure that they can make from the data that they gleaned from Project Sapphire.
That's good. I'm worried about them, but I wish them the best.
They do run into a lot of obstacles as far as the competition for energy generation, unfortunately. Big oil, got nuclear, and as well as coal. I mean, these guys are, they don't want to see their market share being taken.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but if they can build a prototype device and run it and create energy from it, they're going to be far ahead of everything else, because this will be 100% clean energy.
You know it will.
And it can be generated locally instead of being generated literally thousands of miles away.
Exactly. You can build tons and tons of small little plants everywhere and not have to worry about what? Irradiating your community.
Yeah, I heard when they first started picking the nuclear power plants around the United States in the 1950s, they could have went with two different methods. And I heard that the method that they went with was the messiest, sloppiest, worst method they could have.
Well,
is that true?
It's because the method that they use creates byproducts that they can extract and sell to the medical profession, or to sterilize equipment and things like that. The thing is, they could have went with a thorium-based reactor, which is a clean reactor, believe it or not. What it does is it takes all of the radioactive material and uses it all.
Yep. Yeah, I saw.
Don't forget depleted uranium is a heck of an ordinance.
Exactly. And that's another reason why they went with the other system, because it, again, made money for them. It made money for them. It was all about the...
Oh, yeah, that's what it's always all about.
Got money, huh?
Profit.
You gotta love that. Well, I don't mind profiting, but I think it's a question of how. That's the problem.
Right, and Sapphire fixes that problem. People can profit off of energy generation without polluting the planet. That's where we need to go.
Well, yeah, naturally. But like I said, there's a lot of there's some real big players in that market too, isn't there?
Solar and wind and hydro, there's no comparison to Sapphire, because these devices are costly to make. They're costly to maintain. Sapphire isn't going to be costly to make or maintain.
Yeah, but the people who are getting those contracts, they definitely want to keep them, though, don't they?
Oh, yeah. It's because they're making the money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, can you tell me what Sapphire does? What they're doing with Sapphire?
They recreated the sun in the laboratory.
In the laboratory.
Oh, I see.
Well, actually, the main aim of Sapphire is this. It was to recreate the densities found on the surface of the sun and within atomic explosion. That was the main aim of sapphire when it first started up was to, in a laboratory, create the same densities found on the surface of the sun in atomic explosions. And that densities means the atomic exchange of electrons and protons to make elements, to change elements, to make energy, or to use energy to make elements. Basically, magic.
Transmutation, yeah.
I heard
transmutation.
someone say it puts out 1,200 times more energy than it takes in. Was that you that told me that?
I don't know how much, what the percentage of energy is, but I remember on the Sapphire video, it said the efficiency of some generation methods, and I think it was wind that was the most efficient at like 1,000%. That I'm pretty sure Sapphire is going to be way over 1,000% efficiency.
Is this the star in the jar technology?
No, that was a different experiment. The star in the jar.
Yeah, because that uses a sort of cavitation vortex, doesn't it? It's
yeah, that was with water and pressures that were higher than, or sorry, that caused the bubble to collapse and create the same kind of heat that's generated on the sun.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Wasn't that the sonoluminescence?
Yeah, star in a jar.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the Sapphire project was reproducing the electric star model.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, but their aim was to recreate the densities found on the surface of the sun.
Densities of what?
Electrons, I would think.
That's important, you know.
Free electrons. I should say free electrons.
Because when I hear something like density, my brain goes straight to, okay, density of what? What are we talking about?
Maybe plasma density.
Yeah. Or I mean, you could say like maybe energy density. Oh boy, that's even worse.
I'm just quoting what I saw on the video. So
yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's like on another video they said, well, something like
to July 22nd.
Oh, I can't remember. Sorry, lost my train of thought.
Abstract meaning.
Hey, don't feel bad. I'm pretty dense.
Foundation for the expression of the I am, the living organism and its power of growth. Concrete and traditional meaning.
So is a stone, my friend. So is a stone, but it has consciousness too.
Imagination, receptivity, sensitiveness, mediumship.
Yeah, but it doesn't have conscience.
The chest, the breast,
No, because it doesn't have a brain like ours that organized the consciousness.
Not usually above.
I said conscience. A little bit different.
Well, you have to have consciousness to have conscience.
Round face, full cheeks, tendency to short nose, sometimes
Apparently.
Get gray or light blue eyes.
The ability to be empathic or have empathy.
Small.
Yeah.
Uses crab-like positions in
Otherwise, you're not going to be very conscientious so much, or at least others.
Change and travel.
It's not good for survival, at least as far as we are.
It's all tied together, isn't it?
You could say so. Things like that can get rather entangled. Hey. There's a funny word to use, entanglement. Quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff can get pretty that can get pretty hairy in its own right, and it still relies on quantum mechanics as trying to describe what's really going on there. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about that anymore. Yeah.
I think that down in the quantum realm, it's far different than what they're trying to lead us down to believe. That there may be smaller particles than an electron, but if there are very few of them, and I mean very few of the different types of them that make these larger particles. But I don't think so.
Well,
I think
yeah. I mean, you do have these various particles that are down there, like muons, for example, but they're very, very short-lived, so they're not very stable. That's the interesting thing about the neutrino, is that it is actually quite stable, as far as I know. But yeah,
as far as they tell us.
Well,
I think it's all energy past the electron. I think it's all
energy of what, though? Energy in its own right is an abstract.
Hey, Edusa, how you doing over there, buddy?
I'm alright, but getting a bit sleepy.
Yeah, I don't want you falling out on me. How long?
Are you fading fast, my friend?
Yeah, I'm kind of a bit bug-eyed here, but I'm doing alright. I'm enjoying it.
It's got to be like 5 o'clock in the morning over there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So
Is
I'm just.
Kryptonasia with us? Chris, you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
All
It's 5
right,
in the morning.
man. It's good to see you, buddy. You guys
To
are
be
always
here.
welcome.
Thank you.
Just gotta stir the pot a little bit, roust you up, wake you up.
Yeah, yeah.
You get in that zone, you know.
More espresso.
Yeah.
Well, that's an idea. That's an idea.
Okay, so don't be zoning.
Yeah, the zone where your brain starts tuning out,
Yeah.
and then you go to sleep.
Night night. I never seen anybody go to sleep like my son. I mean, I'll be talking to him, and he'll fall asleep in the middle of my sentence.
What it's like to be young.
He lays down and bang, sleeping.
Yeah, that's a good way to be, isn't it? That is.
I don't have much of a problem these days, but when I was younger, I used to have to punch the pillow, roll over 16 times.
Yeah, especially if you've got to get up for work early in 2 hours and you still haven't been to sleep. And you just actually start getting your head down when you've only got half an hour and then you've got to get up.
Yeah.
You got to go to work on Sunday?
No, I don't have to. I don't have to. I'm not having to work at the moment. So.
Oh, phew. Okay.
Well,
Scared me.
Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 in the morning there right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say, what car plant do you work at? I don't want to buy that car.
Yeah, can't blame you.
Well, you see, the thing to do would be to get a good night's sleep, wake up mega early, join us, and then you could go all day.
Well, like I've got I can have a nice relaxing day tomorrow, and
Yeah.
hopefully the sun will come out.
Yeah, I know. I hope so too. I want to start riding my bike. It's been cold here. I mean, cold as a witch's boob in a brass bra, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've been sat up under there's a pal of mine. He hangs a parachute from a tree, so we've had a fire going under that, and I had a few beef burgers going on it, and a can of
Sounds
cider.
good.
Yeah.
I have to ask you something. I'm a little
Yeah.
confused about your money situation. Okay, Now I know you got pounds and you got shillings. What the heck is quid? I heard people say like it cost me 80 quid. What does that mean?
That means it's £80.
Oh, so
Yeah,
quid is a pound. Got it.
quid is a
Yeah.
pound. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay. Another slang. Okay.
yeah.
Now I know.
But then in London, they'll say it cost me a pony, and that's £500, I think, or is so they've got a different name for each sort of denomination of the notes, you know.
That's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, they used to do it in the I suppose in the banks when they're buying the shares. They used to disguise the names of the amounts with these different words. Like a
And,
monkey,
and then they
yeah, a monkey would be £50, for example, and you've got a pony, and you've got a draper, which is 200, and so it goes on.
it's like we call $5 in Canada a fin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fin.
Yeah. A sawbuck is 10, right?
No, we call it a 10 spot.
What's a sawbuck?
Well, that's a 10 spot for you guys down in the States.
Ah, okay. I got you. Yeah, you know, when I was a kid, we used to call cigarettes fags. And I'm like, hey, Jeff, throw me a fag, you know? Well, it's got
That's
a
what we call
totally
them.
different meaning here now. Somehow I got that, but you don't say, hey, Joey, throw me a fag. You don't say that no more.
No, well, they were called fags in England, and they were called fags in a lot of places. A lot of people in Canada back in the day called them fags, but
Yeah, we still call them fags.
yeah,
Yeah.
you guys still call them fags.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, it's the little interesting cultural things, you know. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, words change meaning over the years.
Didn't fag used to be a bundle of sticks
Yep, back in
way back?
the 15, 1600, 1400s, 1300s, a fag was a bundle of sticks.
Well, you'd have a faggot of sticks.
They call them squares now.
Well, that's just crazy.
Throw me a square.
A square faggot of sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the joy of etymology.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be damned if L doesn't mean sad. Israel is Isis, Ra, and Seth.
Did you know that Rome wasn't Rome to the Romans?
It was Saturnalia.
Right.
And then they had a festival called Saturnalia.
Well, then what's with all these speeches where they're going, for the good of Rome?
Oh, for the good of Saturnalia, they mean.
Yeah.
The good of
Well,
Saturn.
I know that they were going to name it that. I don't know if they changed it or what. Saturnalia. Must have really did something to make an impression like that, you know? They wouldn't just do that for some little speck. I'm going to be releasing Celeria Binaria, and I don't know how much of it's right. I don't know if any of it's right, but it sure is damn interesting. It's just a different point of view, because I'd like to hear as many of them as possible to know what's out there. I know about Saturn theory. I never knew about DeGrazio's theory till just recently. And then I know, of course, Ted's Ganymede. And, there's a lot of them, and maybe there's a little bit of truth in all of them,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They can't all be 100% wrong. Well, maybe one or two.
Or 100% right, yeah.
Yeah, or 100% right. Like the electric universe, there's still some issues that need to be addressed. But you know what? It's the best damn thing that we have to explain all of the rock carvings and all of the stuff that we see in the laboratory. It's the best that we have to date, I think.
Absolutely. And the sweetest part about it is that it continues to prove itself, and you can break it down to scale and experiment what you don't know and learn, you know.
Well, and the
You
best
can't
thing
do that.
about a theory, if it's mostly correct, you can make predictions that will come true.
That's exactly right.
And
Yep.
and that's what Velikovsky's done. That's what Wallace has done. They've all made predictions that have come to pass.
Yep.
And what keeps happening to the standard scientific uh, group of individuals? They keep they're shocked, they're
Yeah.
surprised
Yeah.
at all of these new things that they see, or the findings that they're generating.
Oh,
They have to generate funding too, so they got to keep it within those narrow margins of the whoever's paying for the research too. Like the National Science Foundation here in the states. Yeah, if you go at them with like, hey, I'm gonna replicate an electric star in the lab, they're you're probably not gonna get much money for that.
No, but if you say we're going to create a new power source while we generate this electric star in the lab, maybe they'll sit up and take notice, and that's hopefully what's going to happen with.
Or you baffle them with
Hopefully they don't take the wrong money in.
no, or that, or you baffle them with all sorts of wonderful terms in quantum mechanics and make it sound real snazzy and sexy.
Well, they can point to the fact that they broke the plasma physicist's brain that was looking at the data. He couldn't understand what he was looking at because of the standard model of plasma physics. Doesn't apply to the electric universe because it's different. It's based on a power that's a hell of a lot stronger than gravitational and mass alone.
Yeah, that mass question is something else. They don't question that.
Well, nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows what magnetism is. Nobody knows what gravity is. They can describe it to you all day long. How is it generated? Nobody knows.
that's why they named it a magic net, and I just shortened it a magnet. It's true.
That's funny.
True story.
Now, where's that coming from? Never heard that.
I heard it. You know, you're gonna hear. It's gonna sound weird. The first time I heard it, I was watching a thing from Spirit Science because it just looked interesting, and I heard it there first, and then I heard someone else mention it. Michael Sarian mentioned it, so I got it twice. So I figured I haven't looked it up, but there must be something to it.
Could be.
They didn't know what to call it, so they called it a magic net because it caught all metal or something. And there was that guy, Thompson.
Probably somebody had a magnet underneath a piece of paper, and they dumped some metal filings on the paper, probably by mistake, by spilling them, and they went,
Yep.
"Whoa, what's this? A magic net."
Yeah. Yeah, and that guy, J.J. Thompson, he said that all metals have an atmosphere.
I'm not sure what he means by that, but
Well, it's a magnetic atmosphere, maybe. I don't know, but I always wanted to expand on it. But I got it from Eric Dollard when he was giving one of those lectures. It's in my
It's
notes.
possible. It's possible that that magnet's magnetic field could capture particles, oxygen particles and hydrogen, and then create an atmosphere. It's very possible.
Yeah, yeah. If you ever watch that lecture Eric Dollard gives on the history of electricity, it's really interesting.
I've had a look at Dollard's stuff. Yeah, he's certainly very interesting bloke. But he explains all Maxwell's electrical approach, and Thompson, like you say, and a few others. And it seems like the electricity that I've sort of encountered doesn't really encounter the dipolar, all that sort of range of knowledge. Is it me, or has that been ignored, or has it been modified more recently? And if so, was that modification to the detriment of understanding? Anyone got any views on that?
Not I, said the cat.
I'd have to review it myself because
77 G Slinger. I've seen that dude on Red Ice. He knows his stuff. He's pretty smart, from what I heard.
okay, apparently magnesia is the origin of the word magnet.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so I was.
According to this site, so and that's Edamon Line.
Okay.
Yeah,
When I heard it, it made complete sense. Sounded like, well, that's probably about what they did.
you never know. Really. I mean, you've got these people that do their research and they come up with what they come up with, and how do you know what their sources are, and on and on.
Well, too, the whole word magic. There's just all kinds of things. It just seems that whenever it has that word in it, it has some kind of metaphysical quality.
But there is a relationship to the Philosopher's Stone, according to the site. Late 14th century in alchemy, one of the two main ingredients of the Philosopher's Stone from medieval Latin magnesia. There we go. But literally means the lodestone. The magnesian stone. So yeah, we're going back to the Greeks there, and how do we know? It's amazing how you get all this, how easily things can get confounded in research based upon other researches. And next thing you know, you've got 100 years of people basing everybody else's work on what somebody else did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. When you tend to notice a lot of the essays or articles that you read and research, one thing I notice is a lot of them have one base thing they were taken from, and they're all like in verbatim, you know.
Yeah, it all came from Scaliger. He figured it all out.
Yeah.
And that is a serious problem, because once you get kind of compounded referencing going on, then you end up losing the source.
Yes.
And the next thing you know, it's like, hey, we all based this upon a copy of a book that was burned in the fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe the Library of Alexandria wasn't burned down. They just put it all in the basement of the Vatican.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised, actually.
I wouldn't either.
Well, I heard a story that the ships that were laden with the objects that were saved from the library were grabbed by the Romans and hauled to Rome, and all of that stuff is in underneath the vibe.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they would be so stupid of, hey, let's just destroy all their knowledge and put ourselves and them at a disadvantage. No, the idea would be, let's destroy their knowledge, put them at a disadvantage, and we'll keep it for ourselves.
Right.
We'll take whatever's left, whatever we can find.
I'm sure they just ransacked the place, and the story of, oh yeah, it all burned down and everybody forgot is what was played to the general populace.
I often wonder what's this world going to look like 50 years from now, with all this smart technology. It's a little scary.
Well, where they want to take it is we'll all be implanted with chips in our brains. Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they'll find some kind of thing that just they can flip it, and people that are around die.
Yeah.
They'll get the heart of frequencies or something, and mess with that. I mean, I never in my life seen anything so repugnant, to use a word from John Kennedy.
Or abhorrent.
Yeah, the way that they are,
Well, apparently the 5G system in Wuhan province in China, they've got to go around and swipe these. They use a 5G phone as a scanner in order to get food or to get on a train or a bus or something like that.
Yeah, those square UPS codes that you can scan your Coca-Cola or whatever with.
Yeah, that's
they have those square codes. So if you go with your phone with the I think it's a WhatsApp, in fact. You use the app. You scan the square code, and it comes back on your phone either green, yellow, or red. If you're yellow or red, you can't go on the train, or you can't buy whatever. You can't get past this checkpoint.
And so if the police who have this data, if they decide for whatever reason that you've recently had contact with someone who may have had the COVID virus, then you could get these red lights, and you basically then just stuck in your house with no money, no nothing, until you can get lifted. I don't know what that involves, because apparently the helplines aren't too convenient for them. And of course, old people don't know how to use these phones, so it's a bad
When are these automated help phones ever helpful?
Well, exactly. Well, so they don't man those, and people are just really stuck, So what I'm saying is, this virus outbreak was used as a way to implement that technology to totally enslave their people, and it's been done on a corporation-wide basis in the West, but like I say, the data being sold to third parties from from your first book. And
well, if they start asking you if you want a smart city, say no.
Well, I mean, it's not only that. I mean, it looks like it could be very dangerous to life, living in this electromagnetic swamp with some of these.
Well, you see, the way I understand the 5G network is that 5G isn't only on 60 gigahertz. It varies from, I think it was like 28 gigahertz up to 76 gigahertz or something.
It's an enormous range. Yeah.
And it's only the 60 gigahertz range of frequencies that cause this breakdown of oxygen. So all of the other frequencies that the 5G uses are there's no.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's evidence. That it interferes with bees navigation systems. That big enough doses of it just kill them, straight off. Then of course you've got cancer rates for all sorts of things doubling, every year. Whatever it is, it's a massive increase in expected cancers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're saying 1 in 5 people is going to have cancer before they die, or something like that. Bullshit stuff like that,
Well, if those numbers start happening, then people are going to really start to question these electromagnetic frequencies, and there'll be a big backlash.
I would hope, but even with like the cell phones, when they were denying that they could cause cancer and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody paid attention. I still see people talking on their phones with it planted right against their skull, and that's And to me,
Well, it's a good thing my speaker or my the primary speaker or microphone on my phone is broken, so I have to go into speaker mode, and I don't have to hold it to my head.
I've always.
And I'm not buying a new cell phone.
What? No, but they're shinier and prettier. Come on now.
No, they might be, but I like my cell phone that I have now, even though it's busted and.
I just love how they like to try to push this whole perfect control, technocratic tyranny system or whatever that, is perfect and nothing can ever go wrong until one solar flare comes along and wipes it all out.
Yeah, when's that going to happen? I'm kind of waiting. I'm ready to go to the forest and survive.
It would be safer. And you wouldn't have to worry about 5G because it doesn't transmit very well through all that.
It doesn't transmit over long distances, so if you're out in the forest, there ain't going to be no 5G.
Yeah, apparently the signal decay, it does attenuate.
Very quickly, very quickly. Distance, 5G doesn't like distance. Lower frequency ranges, they'll go farther distances, but high frequencies, they tend not to go for a long.
Kind of the RF, apparently. Or the microwave, I guess, I'm sorry. It's definitely towards the microwave, so those guys. And they just love this idea of being able to put up a tower every 200 feet. That's more money for them. Kind of reminds me of, who was it? When Tesla started putting out alternating current, Edison, wasn't it? He wanted to use direct current to give people electricity.
Oh, damn, Renegade says he used to build cell phone towers, and it's affected his bone.
Yikes.
That sucks, bro. And his back got broke somehow. That sucks, bro.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
But he looks on the brighter side. He says if you could strap a, we didn't say this, but he says you got chicken bones. So I'm guessing if he straps a set of wings to him, he could fly. Just be careful on the landings with them chicken bones.
Develop some duck feet.
Hello?
We hear you.
I'm just wondering if everybody's still out there.
I think Edusa is just about ready to fall asleep.
Yeah.
I'm just. Well, I was just kind of curled up on this settee, and yeah, I'm up right now. That's better. That's better. Yeah, I'm still going.
I don't know how you can do it, bro. I wouldn't be able to stay up until 5 o'clock. I'm having a tough time staying up.
Just get a bunch of. Just get a lot of drugs. It's easier.
No, I do not.
I'm just kidding.
I do not
Look, just get some
endorse the use of drugs.
I understand, man, but I had some quite a nice drink of oil. This oil stuff, pretty nice. But yeah, apart from that, a few beers. Feel pretty good.
Feeling good's good enough.
Yeah. So do you think the? Oh, I can't really hear Polly, but Polly Bon 1 2 3 say much on there, but
Just call. He answers by Polly.
Yeah.
Polly. Oh,
people call me all sorts of names, so I don't care.
Okay, mate.
Yeah, he has a really crappy computer microphone on his laptop that he has to try and yell into, and it kind of makes him sound muffled sometimes, but that's okay.
Yeah, fine.
I'm good at mumbling too.
When in doubt, mumble. That's the that's the singer's motto.
Sha-na na 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 na.
Just like man, na na.
Hey, do singers even really perform anymore, or is it just all lip syncing anyways?
Oh no, there's still a lot of bands out there that really perform, and they're good.
I guess gone are the days of the big band headlines and 50,000 people piling into a coliseum.
Well, you still got Aerosmith, you still got the Rolling Stones, believe it or not, and they're still touring, and still doing it. But yeah, I mean, what are they gonna do when they're all gone? I don't know. I don't know what they'll do.
I love studio music. I hate live music, so I'll have all my studio music and all my MP3s still, even after they're all dead and gone.
Yeah.
I saw Aerosmith live, and they're pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I've seen them a few times.
Yeah, I saw them at the World Canadian Music Festival. It was a 12-hour.
They're tight.
Bunch of different bands. I mean, they didn't play for 12 hours. That would be great. Johnny Winter. No, Edgar Winter was there. Nazareth, Rush, Aerosmith.
It sounds like something I went to that was very similar at the Pontiac Silverdome.
I think the Cars were there too.
Do you know what the biggest ever live gig was? Live music performance, most attended?
It wasn't Woodstock.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
It might be, but it's what Wikipedia told me. It was Rod Stewart in Rio, in Brazil. It was like a few million people on a beach.
Whoa.
To watch Rod Stewart? Wow.
Yeah.
I saw
That's
Rod
what I
Stewart
read.
at Pine Knob about, 20 years ago, and he was already old. He's got to be about 86 now, right?
Yeah, it must be old.
Yeah, he's up there.
Well, he probably wouldn't be much older than Jagger. I think Jagger's pushing 80, and he's still running around. It's just crazy.
Maybe they're all taking C60.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, Keith, what a constitution.
Well, he was born in 45, Rod.
Oh, okay. Well, he's
75.
75, yeah. But you notice how the musicians live longer? Because it's the music. They got it in their soul, man. It keeps them healthy and the vitality.
Wow.
That's that music, man. I'm telling you.
A lot of them tend to die around 28.
Yeah, the junkies.
Yeah. Well,
Keith
why
junkie
isn't
5
Richards
times over.
dead?
I know. Yeah, they used to do a lot of jokes about him on Saturday Night Live. That guy.
Oh, yeah.
He played Frank Sinatra. So I never seen anybody look so dead and still walk around.
Maybe they already have them chipped. Somebody's in the background, playing with controls.
You never know, but his mom lived to be in her late 90s, so, genetics.
Yeah, genetics has to do something with it. Actually, a lot to do.
For sure it does.
I was listening to that Michael Steinbacher last interview today. It's on the Electric Universe Eyes YouTube, and he mentions on that that when he couldn't find anyone to talk about the Electric Universe, like when he first got into it, he had to make phone calls to people. It was really hard. I can imagine, but years ago. But it's just so great that there are people now. Like there's people talking about the Electric Universe.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah. What's that?
And Rick. Well,
He said thank you, Greg. He said thank you. He thanked you for gathering people together and talking about what really matters.
You're welcome.
I hope I didn't take the words out of your mouth there.
Still got it's only.
I was going to thank Rick as well because you put this Discord channel together.
No,
it's good.
no.
Okay.
I'm helping running it from Neil.
Well, you help run it.
Guys, I have to go AFK for about a minute. Okay, I'll be right back.
Well, I want to thank you, Crypto, for taking care of the Discord server as well. You do a great job on it. When I slack on posting some websites and some of the content, you're right there. So.
Well, yeah, it's a collective work, isn't it? That's like Wall says about the Electric Universe stuff. There's just too much. There's no, it's going to take a whole lot of people from loads of different subjects to get anywhere with it, really.
Yep. You got to knock on the doors.
So the more the merrier. It's just great to see more and more people getting into it.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems with most people coming over, especially from a more scientific or engineering background, unless they're like Neil, who have kind of had to sit down with them and play with all this stuff, it's a lot easier just to go with the standard model and say, oh, there's only gravity and random processes going on. it doesn't require nearly as much imagination as it is to think about electrical fields, magnetic fields, all the intricate math involved in everything. And yeah, for me, it's just a matter of, okay, I gotta update my brain and really dig deeper into this because yeah, it does take a lot more imagination than me. And that is a barrier, I think, in a lot of respects.
What you're saying, I mean, it's for people who kind of want a challenge, yeah.
Well, I mean, when you're doing something like, say, going through Maxwell's equations, it is a lot more mental work, I think, than it is, say, trying to imagine, I don't know, quantum mechanics, which is a mess in its own right, but it's still mechanically based, and you don't have the same issues going on, I think. And you always fall back on the statistics. Whereas, you really have to put a lot more thought into electricity and magnetism, I think.
Well, there is the theoretical side of all theoretical thinking. It's basically one person sitting there and maybe having a eureka moment that, oh, this is connected to this, and wow, this is why this is happening, I think. And then maybe someone else picks up on that. They'll tell a colleague or something, and it'll spread like wildfire.
It usually does, I think, but it's like I said, it requires more imagination, I think, with really getting to the fundamentals of how electrical systems genuinely work. And to do that thinking and to get it clear. And you don't have the same issues, I think, like say in quantum mechanics, where you can just kind of formulate your statistics and run with it. And yeah, but then again, the problem in theoretical physics is you can almost make up anything. That doesn't necessarily mean it corresponds to reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said last week, the engineers have that advantage. They have to make things work.
Well, a lot of the theoretical thinkers in the physics in the field of physics, they have to base their theories on things that they think are true.
Back.
Roger, Greg. And there are theoretical thinkers in the electric universe as well, but their thinking is based off of the electric universe theories.
Well, yeah, and that's going back to like electrical engineering and electricity and magnetism, and it is a bit more challenging, I think, than say going into quantum mechanics. Ironically, whereas most people try to, they mystify quantum mechanics, which is very strange to me. And yeah, I've concluded it is pretty much a statistically based model instead of a phenomenologically based model.
Well, yeah, they use terms like spooky action at a distance, to describe the stuff that happens down at the quantum level. So, I mean, they just muddy the waters even more with that kind of.
Well, you're kind of stuck with the statistics in a way, and what I mean by formulate everything more on the statistical formalisms, you end up with strange things of like what Feynman said was, you got probabilities of amplitudes of probability when you describe the wave function of say just a free electron, not one that's bound. And,
is that like probabilities at 10 to the 34th power or something?
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than a scientist who doesn't do experiments.
Yes.
And scientists should conduct experiments and go where the evidence leads.
Well, that's why you're supposed to go to the lab and tinker with things and hopefully don't kill yourself.
All Einstein ever did were mental experiments, or with math and all that crap.
Or plagiarize people.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, well, I mean, the time care, he did do a lot of the work in terms of special relativity and Lorentz as well. And when you look at the 1905 paper by Einstein, there's no sources or references or citations at all at the end of his paper. And to me, that's
and he just happened to be a patent clerk.
Yes, he's a genius because he came up with it all on his own.
And he never did a thing after, his big find.
No, he came up with the photoelectric effect.
Yeah.
To him, he did do something with regard to stochastics, which most people don't know about, and that's random processes. But yeah,
and that's what he won his Nobel Prize for, was the photoelectric.
Yeah, but they cloud it all up with the the cult of personality around him. That's really bad. You shouldn't have that in science. I mean, sure, you should give him props for doing good work, but culturally, it is a cult of personality. We're supposed to see him as a genius.
Well, he was a great mind, but he wasn't the greatest. Tesla was the greatest mind.
There's a lot of great minds out there. I just don't think he was as much as they made him out to be. Because, like, even in general relativity, it was the work of Minkowski that allowed him to bring in the vector calculus and describe a four-dimensional tensor, metric, and all that fun stuff.
I heard 4 pi killed anything that could have been possible.
4 pi?
Yeah, that's what he put in the equation. 4 pi.
Huh.
Richard Hall made a comment about it.
I'd like to see where that came from.
Well, I was watching Rich Planet, and he was doing a presentation to a room, and he was talking about the secret space program, and then he went into it with 4 pi and Einstein.
Well, oh boy. Yeah. I hate things like that sometimes, so nice rumor though. I like it.
Well, like I said, I don't even know what 4 pi is, so I'm just repeating something that I heard, because you guys were talking about that.
When I think of 4 pi, my brain keeps on going back to electricity. But right now I'm getting too tired to really recall anything. Maybe Neil has an idea.
Who's alive out there? Come on.
I'm starting to fade fast.
Well, just keep bringing the,
I am a meat
the good
popsicle.
stuff. You guys have been talking about some good stuff tonight.
Well, I threw out the link
Very good to have you.
that you're on. I threw out the link that you're on live on YouTube to the people in the Skype, and hopefully maybe somebody else from.
Well, when
Skype
everybody goes, I think I'm going to go, Rick.
Oh, there's Neil. Neil just joined us.
All right.
Well, I was watching TV, and then, or my version of TV, and then suddenly I go, oh, I have another message, and
Excellent. Good to have you.
Good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
All is well.
Oh yeah. They were laying out some good learning stuff, but now it's stopped, and we're trying to get the ball rolling again.
Well, it didn't stop. It kind of slowed to a crawl.
Yeah.
What was it that you were learning as a twin?
Oh, just about everything. Electric universe.
Oh, we're talking about quantum, and we're talking about this and that and the other thing.
Quantum's a difficult subject. So.
Well, that was when I left. That I was talking about before.
I don't know. I think electricity and magnetism it takes more imagination in quantum.
I don't. You know, the I
Good comment, Neil.
I mean, in quantum, yeah, you are dealing with more difficult math. I mean, it's got weight equations you have to play with and things like that. But it's that's more in the mathematics. Whereas with electricity and magnetism, you have to really kind of think about
negative charges will accumulate between them and then make them sort of form this network, and that becomes a cloud. And I'm like, oh, so doing the same thing, I'm trying to wrap that natural way, because as much as we would like to think the idealized version on paper is why we have no electricity in space, because it's easier just to write it off as, oh, it will instantly short, it can't possibly exist area, as opposed to it naturally forms barriers and bubbles type of plasma nature to it.
Yeah, we had lost it. It sounded like we had lost you, and then you came back. But well,
did I?
Yes, you dropped for a second.
Jesus! I see this. I dislike this. I have something going on with my internet, and it was very deep what I just said. I'm sure.
We only caught half of it, but that's okay. Half deep is better than no deep.
Long story short, there's something interesting to use EM to try to understand subatomics, and I think that the natural way of doing it is better than the trying to pretend our idealized version on paper, is real, and it's very often not.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does it look like down below? Like, do electrons appear? Now we know they appear in clouds. Are they appearing in these clouds because this is the shape that these electron fields, they're called now, exist in? And then I'm saying at this point, you're just making clouds of negative pressure, so to speak. To use your terms there, Rick, use your terms. Sometimes you like to use pressure, but if you think of a negative area between two positives, if you bring two atoms together, and then they sort of like link together in these like jigsaw puzzles almost, and these form the structures of atoms and so forth with these fields. But if that's the case, then what the heck is a proton? What makes it more interesting than an electron?
Right. Is it just its mass that makes it more interesting?
Sure, but what's mass?
Mm-hmm.
So
I have always, for some reason, looked at a proton as fire.
Well,
A fire.
in a way, you're not wrong, because it's the base element of fire. It is the element of plasma in its unrestricted form. But the nature of what's inside of it, though, like, is there more depth beyond a proton? And if so, how is it sculpted, the landscape inside a proton? Like, if you're Mr. Ant-Man going down inside the quantum realm, what would that really look like? And it would try to follow the natural rules of plasma that we have out here. So are we seeing a Taurus? Is that what we're seeing? But is there the possibility then that you could have protons or electrons sort of stuck inside, and therefore link two protons together and become, as structured atom model Edwin would argue that there is that's how that's done. Well, this is like there's something inside of a proton that makes it just not an ethereal thing like an electron.
Now, what is it with Ralph Sansbury's subtrons?
His idea that see, this is very interesting, actually. The reason that subtrons are needed is because if they didn't exist, then the force of this charge would be on the outside of materials, and it would be blocked by electromagnetism and Faraday cages and all that type of thing. However, if there are particles inside of a proton that they themselves are pulled towards the negative plate of the Earth, creating the illusion or the force that we know of as gravity, then it would not leave its own Faraday cage, which is made up of its own electron. So it's all occurring inside a proton or inside the nucleus. Those particles are shifted slightly to one side.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To create the dipole, right?
Right, but this dipole has to occur inside of a proton because it can't occur. If it occurs, it actually moves the entire force of all the charged particles to one side. Well, that's electromagnetism.
So wouldn't that make that electron cloud oblong shape instead of spherical?
Well, you're asking, again, we're getting into idealized versions. Like, I don't know. we didn't know that electrons had field until they did. We thought they orbited. And
how would quarks fit into that notion? Because that's where the standard model is at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're giving quarks. I don't understand quarks. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't. I do know that they don't adhere to what I would call the realms of any force of electromagnetism. I know they use these up down strange charmed and they have to do with the rotation. I think it might have something to do more with where they are on the Taurus. As they're spinning around, they're taking snapshots of these forces, but I don't know. I would like to think that they're basically trying to play a game of cards in a way. It feels like that's my feeling. Like they don't know the game, and they're guessing, and they're good guessers, but they're still guessing.
Yeah, they're very good guessers. Of course, you can make up all sorts of fun stuff with statistics too, though.
Here's a good one. What part of the galaxy do we not see that keeps it in real time? Or the solar system, for that matter? The Earth with the sun. Just pick one. What is it that sees it right now?
You mean
electromagnetic force, I would think.
Yeah, but it's not the electromagnetic waves because that's the speed of light. That's slow. It's got to be something that sees it right now, this instant.
Yeah, EMM waves do travel at the speed of light. You're right. Yeah. That's just light or heat or anything like that. But the actual force, and that's actually a question that I thought of before. I really thought that this was a good one. One of them was, what is it that that makes the decay of material occur related to the sidereal day, which is our relationship to the stars. So it has to do with our relationship more or less to the galactic plane, because it means that the galaxy's location and our orbit in it has an effect on the radioactive decay rate, and thus the entire thing around the Earth and around probably the sun and everything in this general area, what we consider to be reality, in the sense of, like, if you turned it off, it would just be gone. So we know that And we don't know that's the truth, of course, but there's nothing powering this. We don't know what's powering every single molecule in the entire galaxy. But I think it's the galactic current that's powering it. But as we move, it seems to be that every day as we rotate, whether or not we're facing or move or away from the galactic core, seems to have an effect on the decay rates of all of the subatomic particles, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't even out. It's not like it gets more pronounced as you plot more and more graphs. You will see this thing pop out every day, and not related to our orbit of the sun, related to our orbit of the galactic or the stars. So we don't know what that is. And if that's something that's sort of like a heartbeat maybe, or like a hiccup or something that we notice, this is just affecting as we go through the day.
Pulsation.
Well, no. It has to do with our orbit because it occurs every 23.56, whatever. So it's actually related to just what we're facing, like we're facing back and forth, like, because remember, certain properties of electromagnetism have to do with your direction. Inductive.
Oh, okay.
You can't be you have to face. If you're at right angles, you won't feel anything. But obviously, just because we all suddenly turn to the right, we don't disappear from existence. So clearly, there's other things going on here, but it seems to be some are more powerful when facing certain directions, is all I'm saying. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I think that whatever it is that's sort of like, if we think of it's hard to think of things electrically, but if I was thinking of it electrically, the earth, us, me, you, this whole conversation, all the wind, all the air, all the living things, all of the molecules rotating around, and everything that entails, plus every other star, every other planet, every other moon, every other thing in this entire galaxy is a load that is all being experienced in parallel or with everything else, which means if it has a bump, we also have a bump. So that could be that we're all in that case linked, and it is that current that's going through this entire galaxy that is making up what we consider to be real. And if it stopped, we're just dead rocks, if nothing else. So that's a lot of power that it's using, because everything, absolutely everything, is being powered by it, even gravity. So that's what I mean by we don't know where the stuff's coming from, but we'd like to. But it has an instant connection to us, clearly, the galaxy does. That plasmoid is instantly connected to every single one of us. Even though we can't.
Scalar technology is pretty instant, isn't it?
Well, most electromagnetic forces are absolutely instant. It's if I suddenly go, okay, well, the current's a little bit lower in the galaxy. Well, it would affect everything instantly. There would be no difference between it. There would be no one to tell you. Like, we would never know why it changed. It just would. And that behavior would also change all the principles of magnetism and everything like that. Things would automatically begin to pull in, rearrange themselves to this new reality because the currents are all different. That's possibly what happens when, quasars spool up. The reality changes, and it seems to follow in steps. That's something we also know. It has steps to it. It doesn't occur instantly. It sort of goes, and gravity's different. And that could explain something to why in the past it's sort of like you're just moving along your stuff in the Serapeum, pushing it along. You say hi to somebody, some ancient Egyptian fella, and he's like going, hey, other ancient Egyptian fella, I'm just working on my new eye stone, the new tablet from the eye factory. Yes, I know, with the Eye of Ra on the top. Yes, it's wonderful. I love it. And he's doing his thing, and he's chilling this thing, and then suddenly that floating rock that he was, I don't know if he was humming or using anti-grav tech or something, falls to the ground, and his iPhone or iRock stops working. And now they're all sitting there going, crap.
What do we do now?
And also, half of them are like, do you feel suddenly heavy? Yes, I feel suddenly heavy. Like I was 30 pounds, now I'm 102. that's that's a big difference. That's the difference between surviving a very long fall of 100 feet and being dead after 30 feet.
Right.
So that's why I think that climbing those mountains to Mount Picchu wasn't so scary, when you knew if you fell off, you probably weren't going to die. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be, it might not kill you. Like, you could probably survive a few things. It's like being on the moon.
If the gravity was 50% of what it is now.
Yeah, or 60 or whatever. But it's just weird stuff like that. And that's just gravity, not mission, all the stuff you talk about. Like, but clearly there's a direct connection that is making reality seem to be the same with minor fluctuations, because we have anomalies that we can't explain pop up here and there.
Right.
But like idiots, we ignore them.
Here's one. Here's one that really gets me. There was a guy in California. He was messing around. He ended up finding monotonic gold, where he was making things disappear. Did you ever hear about that?
Monotonic gold I have heard about, but disappear?
Yeah, it was a rancher. He was using some kind of. Apparently, they get oil on top of the dirt, and he was using some kind of acid to take it off. And he ended up creating some shit that they went and had it counted, and then it's really a long story, but it ended up making shit disappear. I don't know. I can't remember. You know who used to talk about it? Lawrence Gardner.
I honestly don't know about that. I mean,
and it's just crazy, so he's kind of.
I've heard about people making rocks, and I like that. And I've, stuff like that. I mean, but I've never heard of things in monotonic gold. Some people trying to use microwaves even to pull gold out of silica. Because there's a lot of gold that seems to get bound up in just sand.
What I heard was that if you ran electrical energy through gold at a high enough rate, it would turn into a powder, into monatomic form from solid form, and then if you ramped up the power even more, it would disappear. That powder would disappear. You shut the power off, it would go back into powder, but it wouldn't turn back into solid gold.
Okay, so you've heard
shut off the power. Something like that.
Okay, I can see it disappearing for sure, because it would be electroplated to the surface of one of those, cathode or the anode.
Where's it
That's
going?
What I would think.
Well,
that's what I would think when someone goes, "I'm going to electrify a gold." That's the first thing I would think. Okay, it vaporized, and okay, it turned into dust, and so that could be a combination of oxygen.
I'm gonna find the guy's lecture. Yeah, I'm gonna find it. It's been a couple years.
It couldn't even be because of the amazing conductivity of gold. It could actually be doing a nuclear reaction, and could be more evidence of a low level nuclear reaction, which heavy metals like palladium and other things have been known to work on that. But it wouldn't surprise me, only because of this. Only because now of what we've known from sapphire and other things.
I was just gonna say, because sapphire.
Yeah, there was one more thing too. It was right on the tip of my brain. It'll come back to me.
Well, I thought I was in bad shape, but your brain has tips. Mine doesn't have tips.
Well, I had it ready, and then I listened and forgot.
Yeah, that happens literally all the time. In fact, you've just described all of Shockwave's life. He goes there. He's like getting on the show. He's like, I can't hold it in. I go, you got to hold it in.
Yeah.
It's like, can't hold it in. We can't hold it in.
I forgot.
I found it.
Okay.
Eric Dollard mentions something.
Love that guy, yeah.
You mentioned something called counter space. That's very intriguing, the idea.
I've heard it explained to me 3 different ways. So
right.
And each one like one of them is like, okay, it's instead of being over time, you're doing it over distance, and you put time in the background, and that's just a mathematical reorganization. I'm like, okay, that sounds reasonable to me. And then someone else was like, no, he means a different reality or alternate reality in which material or electric fields suddenly go through something. And I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
That wasn't part of my learning, but okay. And I think, I'm not sure what the third one is, probably something by Ken Wheeler. But yeah, I've heard some other things. So basically, I'm not. I wouldn't want to comment because I really don't know which one. Unfortunately, I don't know which one Dollard is the guy who's into what he's into on that one. What are those subjects?
Well, he gave the answer. This is what he said. Counter space is the space in which subtle forces work, such as those of life, which are not amenable to
Greg, you
ordinary
broke up.
measurement.
Start over, Greg.
Counter space is the space in which subtle forces work, such as those of life, which are not amenable to ordinary measurement.
Jesus, that sounds like he's describing the ether.
Yeah.
Well, I would go so far as to say that it might be more akin to what Wall was talking about, or what you were talking about earlier, of this force that is going through the entire galaxy at once, and we are all part of it.
Yes.
And the thing that makes it interesting to me is because certain galaxies would have the exact same current as ours because they'd be in a chain with us. And other galaxies, they would be getting, like, I know that we're powered off of the same stream that powers the Andromeda galaxy. We've been ejected from that galaxy, likely, and we are its child, and we are in line with it, and it's very close and very large.
I agree.
Now, but we are a younger version. That's why its blue shifted to us. It's an older version to us now, an older galaxy to ours, I think. But this galaxy and the other galaxies are actually, the local group is part of a cluster, which itself makes up what we call, if we could see each galaxy in it, they would all be spinning around like a plasmoid around each other. And that local cluster is is also itself a pinch, which is made up of galaxies. They can't get any closer together because each galaxy now has its own magnetic and electric field. So they start filamenting like plasma does, and they're all pinching through that like a I wouldn't say a spider web, but more like suddenly these cords have to pinch down and break off so that they can get through this pinched area of magnetism. It's self-created by its own magnetic twisting. And of course, this magnetic twisting makes current. It's more difficult for the current to get through. It becomes what we consider in electrical terms a load. So even though we can't see it, these galaxies, this whole cluster must be spinning around itself because it would be torqued. But it's so big, we can't see the movement. Each of these are just charged particles to it. But like each galaxy would be like a charged particle, like a proton. But it itself is spinning around this thing. So this chord is now also in line with the great attractor. And thus this local group is also aligned and getting the same current as the great attractor. So this is actually a really stable current. Like if you think about it, it has all of these inductors and capacitors going, hey, chill. Yeah. Everyone go smoothly through the area. Yes, everyone smoothly go through the area. Oh, too much current? Lower it down. We have an inductor to soak up that energy. Okay, we have a capacitor to soak up the rest of the energy. Okay, and it just balances itself.
Well,
that's what I'm thinking is going on in this general area. But again, this is just me learning what I've learned and taking from people who are much smarter than myself. So
That was excellent, by the way.
Yeah, you're awesome, bro.
well,
Excellent way to describe what we think is happening out there. And
well, I
when you're talking about
anthropomorphize it. I'm sorry, I anthropomorphize it because, unfortunately, that's what we always have done with fire and plasma. I mean, it feels like it has its own intention, but it doesn't. But it does follow rules that are immutable. I mean,
Right.
there's once it happens, it happens. Like it's these are now loads, and these loads are now slowing things down. And light is being expressed, heat is being expressed, all of this stuff because of all these tangled magnetic fields, which seem ridiculous because we could barely measure them.
and these magnetic
so
fields that you're
big.
talking and these magnetic fields that you're talking about, their movements are gauged in tens of millions of years.
Yes.
Perhaps hundreds of millions of years.
But it knows where each part of it is instantly. There's no time or space component to these formula. Like once I do the formula math, it doesn't go, and how long does it take for this proton to recognize this proton on the wire has moved? It doesn't. It already no.
It knows already.
Like I just shut up. It doesn't work that way. Like it's instant. It knows. So all of those galaxies, every single one of the galaxies in the local group, the whole supercluster even must know where each other is instant because they're spinning around themselves even though they can't see each other.
Yeah.
They're like I said, they'd be spiraling like a little plasmoid around, so doing little figure eight motions in a kind of twisty kind of way around this current that's traveling through that literally must be. It's so big that it's not just powering our galaxy and everything in it, but all of these hundreds of other galaxies as well. And it's all trying to go, hey, everyone, current flows nicely. So whatever our rotation says, it seems to have, like when we go back to that feeling that observation that there is a decay rate change every day, depending on where we're facing, that it seems that whatever it is, this power, it seems to know that it's moving on the planet, and it seems to be related to at least the galactic center, if nothing else. So all of that is basically controlling whether or not the decay rate of uranium is what it is. And we see the fluctuation every day in uranium. It will have that little heartbeat on it almost, as you said. So if this is the case, then this is why when we put these materials in other electrical environments, say even the Sapphire Project, or even just striking it with lightning bolt, the end result is that they go, it seems the radioactive decay rate has changed. Why? We don't know. I have a theory.
Electricity.
It shows just how much we don't know about reality and how much, because we've been trained to think that universal is universal. But it's only really big regional. Locally regional between galaxies and it could be like we are clearly not the same as Andromeda. So we could be spooling up trying to get mature like Andromeda, and it could have a completely different charge. And when you think about it, it shot us out of it because we were a different charge. Our entire galaxy is one of those barf-ups that you see fluctuating out of one of those jets coming out of a galaxy.
Yeah, it was a quasar in the past.
Well, yes, but I'm saying, but this means that we're looking at when something happens like that, it barfs up. In a way, I mean, that has a high possibility of becoming a galaxy that supports intelligent life and everything else. So, holy crap. Like
magic.
Well, it might as well be for all we know.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now that we've gone all the way up and all the way down this wonderful rabbit hole with regards to what goes on at the subatomic levels, clearly we are related. Whatever the force is, whether you call it scalar, whether you call it magic, we're definitely linked, like as intrinsically as one could be. Or so it seems. I could be wrong. I don't want to steal all the thunder. It was a wonderful. It's your show, number one, and I'm just sitting here on my Discord having a good time. So
yes, that's what it's all about. We're just here having a good time, and you've been doing really good.
Well, I was fading fast until you showed up.
Oh,
you woke.
Yeah, you livened up the party.
Yeah, excellent. Let me describe.
You got to say that the proper way. You have to say excellent.
Just for my American friends, I am eating sour cream and bacon chips with a hint of maple.
Wonderful.
Wow.
I know. They don't never lived until they've had ketchup chips. We just are known for our weird chip brands. I'm not sure why. It's not like Japan, though. We don't go, ooh, shrimp.
Ooh, blowfish. Ooh, cricket flavored chip.
Ooh, Hootie Ann. The blowfish? That was hilarious. No one got that? All right. You're too tired. I'm also trying to recover from I shouldn't say recover because it wasn't that bad. But the gentleman who's, what was his name? Liren or Leo.
Right.
And he and Duffy just was like, rawr, and I was like,
oh, he was on attack mode, yeah.
But I was like, well, well, you're young. Maybe I shouldn't be so harsh.
Well, he
enthusiastic.
He does well. Yes, he is very sure of himself. Let's put it.
Yes, but it's like he's been. Oh, the gentleman who was on the show a couple weeks ago. But he's into like trying to make a television show about the EU, and I want to help him, but there's a part of me who's going, oh, please.
You're talking about Ramon?
No, not Ramon. Although it wouldn't surprise me that Ramon wants to do that.
Well, I can't. Trying to think who else it would be.
Oh no, he was just on. I just had a person.
2 shows ago.
2 shows ago, he wanted to make a movie about the EU, and he was talking about his ideas and stuff like that. And yes, he's a screenplay writer. Yes, he does have some interesting stories. He was showing things that would and wouldn't work. But he was clear on things. He was a lot of no and not a lot of yes. But
was I in a coma or doing hard time?
I think both.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, all I was saying is that I was thinking back onto him and going, I want to help him, but I have to calm down first. You have to go, okay, I'm going to help you, but I need to
think about how to help him first
without creating something worse.
Yeah.
Like where you go, hi, I'm here to pour gasoline onto this flame. Oh, not a good idea.
Or you should do things this way.
Yeah, you don't want to do that either. I don't want to be the boss of someone else. I mean, it's their dream, right?
Exactly. You can only figure out ways to point them in the right direction. That's all.
You can only lead a man to the electric universe. You can't stop him from being an idiot.
Or electrocuted.
Sorry, I'm just having fun with it. Yes, you can teach a man. Yes, you can teach a man electrical engineering. You can't stop him from sticking the fork into the socket. No, you can't do that. He's still an idiot.
We hear Greg likes to do that a lot.
I
He
did
admit
that a lot. I don't mean like trying to electrocute my own head or something. I just meant that I want to like build things with electricity because, well, after you were shocked at a young age, you know, you're like,
I want that again.
Well, no, it was oddly powerful, and you don't understand what was going on. Like, how could your body be controlled by something else?
Yeah, I like to test the ways with my tongue.
Oh, I do that with 9-volt batteries. That's as far as I go.
Hey Neil, were you referring to the work of Jenkins and Fishbach? I posted a link there in the Discord on the general page on an article referring to that. The radioactive decay rates and relationships with the sun.
Honestly, I did not. I only knew it was truth. I did not know of any recent research. Well, 2010, that seems like something that I would know is true. Because chances are I was reading like every single thing that ever came through the Electric Universe Thunderbolts.info page because that was where it was before YouTube took off. You know, like people didn't watch videos. People went to, oh, you were into EU Thunderbolts. Go there, and then you could watch the picture of the day, and then they would give citations and show you
And
things like
read
that.
the article.
Yes, and then you can go, were they lying? And then they go, no, here's a link to this article which proves that it is related to, for some reason, we don't know why.
Yeah, this article is actually dated 2010, and I was just kind of scanning over it, and it seems to be what you're talking about.
It also mentioned solar activity. Yes, yeah. The other one is exactly what I must have picked it up at Thunderbolts and Info. So basically, all of this is because at one time Stephen Smith must have put this together. So I'm just assuming, but so all hail the great Stephen. But what I'm saying is that if you read there, I think it shows that also bursts, solar bursts or prominences that come off the sun will also seem to affect decay rates.
Yes, that's what they were correlating it to, as well as they were correlating it to solar neutrinos.
Well, blah 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 blah. That means I have no. What solar neutrinos mean to me, since you're basically going, well, we haven't proved neutrinos exist, and we haven't proved solar neutrinos exist, and so basically I'm saying magic, and that's all they're really writing in there, as far as I can tell. A certain type of magic. But I think it has more to do with the fact that once you realize that, because we don't want to think of electromagnetic forces as anything outside of something we can control. Like, it's easy when falling water is spinning turbines, making magnets do their thing, right? And then suddenly, boom, you're whatever it is you're watching, you're getting power, and suddenly you're going, oh, I can use this to do something. But if you suddenly realize that if the sun has a hiccup, that it could create such a EM pulse that it would blast every single friggin' inductor on the planet and melt it to slag, just a pile of copper and friggin' soft iron, and we'd have to rebuild them all, and that could change all the principles of reality forever on the planet. We'll have to learn them all again and may destroy our entire civilization, but don't fret.
We'll figure it out. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, we won't. I'm pretty sure that what I just said would pretty much cripple us, because whatever we thought was real wouldn't be real anymore.
We'll figure out the new properties and build a new system.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Here's the trouble, Rick. This happened and destroyed the ancient Egyptian empire and Babylon and Sumeria and all of that. Okay. And we are just now, since 1880, okay, learning to do it again. That's how long it took. So, yes, we'll learn it all again. But they probably thought, 200 years, we'll have this thing mopped up. We'll have it all figured out again. No, they didn't. They just kept declining into barbarism until, also the giant gods in the sky that scared the living piss out of them probably didn't help. Assuming we don't have that, that could be a big setback.
on a cyclical cycle that you could pretty much count on.
Let's hope I'm wrong on that.
To astrology.
No, I mean it. I mean, I'm not saying it's not right. I'm saying that hope it's not cyclical. All I'm saying.
No. I mean, it was cyclical when the planets were in close, like when Venus pushed on Mars, oscillating it back and forth between the Earth. That was a cyclical thing. You could count on that happening until it broke.
12 times, yeah.
The suddenly labors of Hercules.
Well, it sounds better when you say labors.
Right.
If they just said the stuff Hercules did, it's sort of like Alexander the Great, if he was just called Alexander the So-So. Still, it's a challenging subject.
I'm still blown away that it oscillated back and forth 12 times.
Well, it's things like that and those stories that, like, there's a part of me that wants to get rid of it. Like there's a part of me that recognizes why people are trying to skip over it, like not bring it up, like Robert Schoch or even Renz, who has an idea of plasma mythology that does not involve the polar configuration. I recognize why, just as much as I recognize that, Pierre Robitaille can't just walk around and say ether's real and reality changes, gravity changes, mass changes. Like, that's not something that's acceptable from someone in his position. Someone in my position, it's perfectly fine. I'm just talking out my butt. But I want to say things that they can't say in some cases, because it needs to get out there that we don't honestly know what reality, like why these constants are constant. But I do know that the reality that we have inside of a certain things, like you can't change the rules of a capacitor. I mean, unless we don't really measure the inside of one of those, though. Like while they're on, like we build it,
right,
and then we go, that's going to work, and it does. Maybe sometimes it has like little things we don't understand that screwed up or whatever, and maybe there are anomalies. No, there could be tons of things, but if you brought like at 5 volts going through a circuit, we might not notice anything. We don't build circuits or very many circuits that are pumping hundreds of thousands of amps through them. I mean, number one, it's just not productive. And because you can use voltage instead, right? And kick it way up and then get it there a lot less loss, basically. So we don't do certain things like this. So we don't know what it's like to measure something that it's highly charged in a different direction, that type of thing. We don't do measurements on things like that, because the moment we touch it with our probes, we're going to give ourselves a nasty shock, in many cases, right? So
yeah, you'll breach either the double layer that it's created, and all that energy that's in there will flow to you.
And we also don't do it out of the Earth. Like we don't, like no one's up in I mean, I'm sure there are people in the space station doing this, but I mean, far away from the Earth, we don't have anything except for satellites. We have nothing to say, hey, sure, now that I'm out here away from the Earth's magnetic field, I'm in the solar wind now, totally inside the solar magnetic field. And now I'm going to do these tests on dropping weights and testing the boiling point of metals and such like that in controlled circumstances. Do any properties of materials change? while they're no longer inside the magnetic field of the Earth. That would be the first step. And then you'd have to do it outside of the solar system, would be the
Right.
next. And there's no possible way that's going to happen in the next.
Oh, no.
I mean, I want to imagine Star Trek is just around the corner, but, you know.
But we could we take the anomalies that are happening on Voyager 1 and 2 and extrapolate possibly that there's a change in the, say, gravitational constant or all of
I
the
want to
constant?
say that once money is involved, this is all going to change. Or when reality forces it to. Because space doesn't force that onto. Only NASA has to deal with this crap. Or the ESA. No one else has to deal with it. So they don't have to tell you. They don't tell you the anomalies. Geology is another important thing. If you can prove that, no, I can take this, I can take your uranium and using my techniques divide it into things because your rules say you can't do it, doesn't mean my rules don't say I can't do it. Then they're going to say, what are your rules? They're going to want to know because they're going to imitate it.
Right.
And even if it's not real for a while, that's what they did with the church. The church admitted that Galileo was right to Galileo. They also admitted that all of this is 100% totally cool. We understand these elliptical orbits. The sun is at the center, blah, 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 blah. You just can't go around telling people like that. They're too stupid. That was their argument. So even though it made clocks better, because they started fixing a lot of things that they didn't understand, like, you know, seasons were getting off, shit like that. Why? Well, elliptical orbits. Let me explain it to you. You know, so this helped a lot, but the church was very ecstatic to use the information. It still wanted to also have its cake and eat it too, and control people who were too stupid to realize, because no, we want the sun be important. We can't, like Earth be important, actually, is what they wanted. Because people wouldn't understand. And that was their basic argument. But here we are now. If you can say, well, no, like if I could just stick something like a bunch of handful of dirt into a machine and it comes out as a solid brick of gold, they're going to want to know how I did it. That's all I'm saying. Once you start involving things like that, like, oh, we need special metals to make this particular weird thing, and we can only mine this lithium with the poor slaves of whatever. Well, if you invent this, you don't need that at all. You could just basically build a machine and it spits out lithium from dirt or whatever. Because it changes it.
That are introduced.
Well, no. I'm not even pretending I would understand how it works. I'm simply saying what that is, though. That technology is not just a 3D printer. That's a friggin' replicator. So that's what this technology is, because this is where you begin to realize, wait a second, we can do that. Like that's not out of reach now. Replicators are ridiculous in the quantum era. In the sapphire world and the electric universe, they're a natural extension of reality.
Right.
They're going to happen because we're going to figure it out. Because that's what's going to happen. Because once we start being able to go, because one of the big things is we need to be able to, we're supposed to hate other people around the world because of resources so that we could exploit them to get cheap shit for our people. But now we don't have to do that. Now we can just go, here's dirt. We put dirt in a machine and we get lithium to build these really cool electric cars out of. Well, it costs so much money. Well, now it doesn't. Now it costs dirt. Dirt plus electricity, I guess. Dirt plus electricity? Yeah. So now you start doing that. And now you're at a point where you're like, oh, well, that's suddenly these resource problems are disappearing. We could make diamonds fall from the sky. Like, what's the point? So suddenly you're realizing, well, you're well on your way to Star Trek is what you are, really, when you think about it. Like, that's where you're going. I mean, I don't care about your political views because it's not really about that. It's the ability to be beyond resource problems.
Yeah, well,
besides apparent dilithium crystals.
Once you solve the energy problem, I mean, I think the Earth is going to benefit greatly from it, and all the peoples on it.
Another thing we should also not, but it also changes the other outlook, because suddenly the other people are justified in their argument when they say, "Well, no, we should. The Earth is making materials, and you have to agree with them." They go, "Well, actually, yes, it is. It's making new materials all the time, and it's different layers of this Earth cake that we're on."
Yeah,
and occasionally it squeezes out the chocolatey goodness of oil too, out of nothing, because it's and not out of nothing, but it's because of these reactions.
Out of the reactions that are happening down deep in the hot places,
which are because of the electricity that's probably flowing through these hot places. So,
or the plasmoid at the center of the Earth that's generated by the
really
Berkeley currents. Yeah.
So you're at that. So basically, they can go, well, we should be able to continue exploiting. The good news is that hopefully we will progress, and the Earth should still provide, as much as I hate to say that, because I don't want to give anyone the reason to not try, I guess.
Yeah.
But I can't force anyone.
Let's give up and kill the rest of the world.
No, bad call, Ripley. I've seen that movie. It's not good. It ends at dying when you're 30 with this little flashing disc in your hand. What?
And then infecting the rest
Logan's Run? No one? No, well. Well, considering I'm the only one talking, I would think that it's okay. I mean, I'm just here laughing. It's just nice to be here. So.
You're the night owl, Greg. What's going on? Didn't you get enough sleep last night?
Well, I gotta tell you, it has been hard to get into my thing too. I want to do my video, and every time sometimes I'm looking at, because I only have this one, and then I'm on to my own projects. But still, at the same time, you're like,
do I really want to do it now, or do I just want to sit here and watch
play a video
Battlestar
game?
Galactica?
Yeah, there you go, Battlestar Galactica.
Or Stargate. Sorry, Stargate.
My Little Pony, Apocalypse Pony.
Episode season 10, episode 6.
Season 10, episode.
You could probably name it, right?
That's episode. It's only called 200. That is the name of the episode, and it is the 200th episode on big fan service video. It's one of my favorite episodes.
They were all pretty good episodes, except for the fantasy ones that, oh God, I wish they didn't do.
Well, some of them I hated, but let's just face it, Hathor was pretty hot.
Well,
season 2. I'm just
a lot of the female characters that they
Osiris
were pretty screaming hot.
Well, I wasn't. Oh, I suppose they had Ishtar, didn't they? Who was the Vulcan T'Pol there?
Right.
Vala Maldoran was hilarious. I love Claudia Black. She's a great actress.
Yeah, Vala was pretty funny. I liked her.
But I give credit where credit is due. I got to give credit to Samantha Carter, which basically took that character and turned it into a friggin' career. Literally. Yeah. She was like, no, this show's not going to end. Why? Because these people love me. It was like, you're right, we do. Just keep going, Sam. Do whatever you need.
Smart and cute. Wow.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, she looked like she was like nothing. Like Daniel Jackson when he started, like the person Michael Shanks when he started was 20-something years old, not even 22.
Yeah.
And but she was 34 when she started as Captain Samantha Carter.
Right.
So when he left the show at the age of like 30 something, she left like going, no, I have to leave. Why? Because I am not going to go through another year of doing crunches just because guys got boners looking at me. Like I gotta go, guys. Like I understand completely. It must be a workout. Same with what's his name there, Jack O'Neill. He was like, nope, I'm done now. I'm gonna like
taking a break.
Yeah. Sorry, we're just babbling. Well, they're lovely.
He was talking to the live crew on the live.
Well, we'll be on our show's on tomorrow anyway. We're doing the next one on the top 10 list, so we're going through filaments.
Yeah, and Greg, don't forget anytime you want back on the Skype, man, just let us know. Anytime you want to contribute on the Electric Few Talks, just let us know.
That goes with a few of the people here because we love you all. I mean, if you want to, you have something to add on these topics and you think you'd be good, I don't mind. I'd love hearing from people. I mean, even the ones that we can barely stand, we still love. So.
Well, I'll keep it in mind. Yeah, that's cool. I got a lot to do tomorrow. I don't know if I can make it, but I'll catch
Oh,
you.
don't worry about anytime.
Anytime
Yeah.
you want,
yeah.
Greg.
That's
Just
cool.
let us know. We'll pull you in.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm debating. I mean, yeah, the talk is good, but I'm just like, I'm starting to grow into this chair. I need to stand up and straighten out my knees.
Oh, you mean melt into the chair like butter?
Yeah, I'm going to become the chair.
I know that feeling. I was sitting here and I looked down and I realized there was a cat here on this thing, and I was sitting here just petting this cat while I was watching a video, and I'm like, I've become an evil doctor or something. That's all I'm doing, talking about taking over the world. I've got to stand up and go outside for a coffee.
Yeah, that's
Dr.
good.
Evil. Austin Powers.
I'll hang out for a few more. We got 32 people watching, so I don't. I hate to let them down.
I know what you mean. I feel well.
29.
Sometimes I'm like sitting there. You're going click, and you click on a button, and you're watching the thing, and they know it's coming.
I know, and you don't want to let them. Yeah, I know you don't want to disappoint them. I know what you mean.
That's okay. You'll go lay down for a couple hours, Greg, and then you'll be back on at 4.
Well, I typically usually save it all for Saturday, but every now and then I'll probably pull a couple surprises. Who knows?
There you go.
I need to practice.
Well, whatever you did tonight with the music or with the sound settings, remember the last thing you did, because now it's working.
Yes. I think I might finally have it, by George. And when I listen, I'll know.
Well, everybody else in the chat was saying that your echo was gone and your voice level was up, close to ours.
That's beautiful. That's what I like to hear.
That's what I got from the live chat anyway.
Yeah, so we're at 4 hours, guys. I say could we just call it, and you guys got your thing today, and who knows, maybe in a couple days I'll fire it up and we can just start talking again. I had a really good time tonight.
It was great.
Absolutely. I got a lot of good stuff on here. I can't wait to listen to it.
Yeah. You just fire it up and let people know that you're going to go live, and if I'm around, I'll jump on, and I'll throw the link in the Skype so maybe Neil can catch it or somebody else can jump on the Discord and come and.
Yeah, I like the variety too. Every week it's been someone different, and it's starting to. I'm starting to know what I'm doing, and it's getting better.
Attaboy.
That's what I like doing this thing, is because every time you're learning it for yourself, and it doesn't really go away. You feel like, oh my god, it's like, now that I know how to do this, I can do anything I want.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh wait, no. The first time you think, no, I'm going to do something with twice as many edits, 3 times, 10 times as many edits, multiple layers, all this stuff. And don't worry, it's only going to be 4 minutes long. How long could that take? 45 hours later, you're going, oh my god, I am never doing that again.
A flashback to a 1970s song came to mind when you said that. I got the power.
1970s? Oh, I got the power? No.
That's
Snap was 1987, 89.
That was the 80s?
I got the power.
Yeah. I used to have a 90s mix CD, and it was on there. It was like 1990 or something like that.
Minerva Mayflower from Hudson Hawk, sitting there on the table. She was, I've got the power.
Yeah.
Just sitting there.
Jesse James.
KRS-One. Oh my god.
Is that like WKRP Cincinnati?
Okay, you are not allowed to talk hip hop ever. And I apparently am so bad that I still had to get somebody from Austin to explain what XSW meant, because I didn't understand South by Southwest was actually that's the same thing, because I'm an idiot apparently. But
yeah, we all have our moments, man.
Well, they said it got canceled, and then I of course, because my idea of like, they go, oh well, there's a venue coming to Moncton.
Night be, night shine. Sorry, I was just trying to take care of a little business. I'm listening. I'm multitasking.
I'm just saying.
Yes, yeah. Night Renegade. Yeah, absolutely. So, you guys are good. What time are you guys going on tomorrow?
Oh, we'll be, let's see, 10 hours from now, 10 and a half hours or so.
11 o'clock?
1:30 p.m.
That's why I say,
yes.
I told you the time from now so that you guys can do your math. It'll be different because you live in different parts of the world.
Yeah. Well, it was great having you guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for everybody in chat. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. And I'll be back soon. I'm always thinking about you. And, I love you. Damn it.
We love you too, Greg.
You have that voice that definitely makes you feel loved. You could just go, actually, you should do the whole thing with, and coming up next on Super Sounds of the 70s.
Yeah, he's so chill, man.
He's so chill, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm like a hamster on crack.
There's this guy, he does a radio program called Pillow Talk. And he's got that voice like, this is Dr. Love with Pillow Talk. And the girls just go crazy for him. Maybe I should start practicing.
There you go.
There you go. You weren't doing too bad there, Greg.
The twang on your voice, though, you should probably make it country music, though, or something. Just going to, this is going to be late night Pillow Talk, coming from the guy with the big hat and the big beard.
Y'all.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, as long as I can read without tripping over my tongue, I'm okay.
We're nothing but fishermen. No one wants to hang out with us, so don't worry about that.
That's good. That's good.
East Coasters.
Well, I'm gonna find that thing about the monotonic gold, because I believe it was Lawrence Gardner who turned me onto it, and there's just some really freaky things that go on with that, and I'd like to know what's going on there,
Well, those are the types of things I would love to explore. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. It's been so long. I just know it fragmented now. I want to brush up on it, and then I'll know more. Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't
know.
worry. Half the time you go back in time and look at things. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Rick. This is not my show.
No, that's okay, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just trying to say goodbye to everybody and get out of here in one piece.
I'm used to it. I'm good. Don't worry.
I know you are. I know you're really good, but I'm sitting here like being an ass, and I'm like on my own show. It's like Rick's been trade. He's like, "Oh, Neil's talking. Shut up." But here I'm like, I'm taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Such an asshole.
I wouldn't
No,
have
man, it's good. It's good. It's all good.
I wouldn't have had a show if it wasn't for you guys. So thanks for coming. Okay.
Oh, hey, anytime, man.
All right. That's good. And I'll see you guys next.